Imagine this, you're waist-deep in Johto's mist, flashlight trembling in your hand. Ancient ruins loom, symbols carved into stone no one can fully read. The air tightens, a shadow stirs, immense, ethereal, watching from the dark. A guardian? A myth come alive? Or a secret the Pokémon world has buried for generations? Before we fall deeper, quick thanks. If you love these lore dives, make sure you're subscribed and your bell is on. It really helps our little community grow. Now back to the shadows. Welcome trainers to the hidden legendary Pokémon mysteries we were never meant to uncover. I'm your guide through the hush between the game's pixels, the interviews, and the art, the places where the real stories hide. Pokémon isn't only about catching them all, it's a tapestry of whispered legends, forgotten worlds, cosmic fights, powers that bend reality. From Red and Blue's cartridge nights to the sprawling open worlds of today, we've chased beings like Arceus, the creator, Mewtwo, the engineered god, Dialga, the lord of time. But beneath the shiny animations and triumphant soundtracks lies a labyrinth of clues, code fragments, unused sprites, cryptic artwork, and developer hints that point to mysteries still unsolved. Why does Sinnoh's creation myth echo real-world folklore? Why do some legendaries vanish after they're seen, only to reappear as puppet masters in fan theories? Think of late-night Bulbapedia rabbit holes, assembling fragments like a detective in a fogged alley. What if those fragments form a bigger picture? Interdimensional rifts, suppressed histories, legendaries not just powerful, but pivotal to reality itself? We're not skimming, we're plunging. Picture Lugia, not merely a protector of seas, but something darker. Picture Mew, not just a genetic marvel, but a key to origins we never questioned. We'll comb the games, anime, manga, beta footage, and developers' words. No stone unturned, no theory dismissed without scrutiny. Set the stakes. Pokémon's world spans continents and timelines, remade and rewritten, yet intentionally ambiguous. Game Freak teases us with Easter eggs, a stray sprite in the code, a line of dialogue that shouldn't be there, a legendary with design echoes of ancient myth. These are invitations to wonder, and in a franchise that sold billions of copies, these mysteries are what keep us exploring. Over 3 hours we'll build from foundation to mindbender. Expect slow, vivid reveals that grow sharper. Lugia's true role, Mew's hidden purpose, the distortion world as more than a boss arena, perhaps a window into parallel dimensions where legendaries wage silent wars. We'll test the Eclipse duo, Cresselia and Darkrai, as dream and nightmare made real. Examine the Swords of Justice and their missing fifth blade. Trace Ho-Oh's rainbow to possible portals. Read the unknown as scribes of history, not mere alphabet monsters. This matters because the mysteries knit our fandom together. Reddit threads, fan art, academic dives, fan games. We'll present evidence fairly. Pro theory, counterpoints, and the grey truth in between. Expect developer quotes that nod towards Shinto inspiration, beta leaks, that whisper of scrapped roles, and gameplay oddities that refuse to be accidental. Feel that tingle? That's discovery. By the end you'll see patterns, Rayquaza as cosmic balancer, Kyogre and Groudon echoing primordial chaos, Giratina's exile as possible rebellion against Arceus. Some theories will stretch, yes, but we'll tether each to files, sprites and quotes where they exist. This is narration for the ear, crisp, cinematic, relentless. So dim the lights, grab your Pokeballs and lean in. We'll start slow, then spiral into the deep connections that bind legendaries to a single, darker question. Are these beings merely legends, or are they threads in a meta-narrative about creation, control, and the blurred line between game and myth? As the screen fades to our first enigma, remember, in Pokémon, legends aren't born, they're hidden, waiting for trainers bold enough to seek them. Let's begin. Unveiling the Enigma legendary Pokémon aren't just powerful creatures from the games, they're the silent sentinels of secrets, buried deeper than any Pokeball could contain? What if I told you that these beings, from Mew to Rayquaza, have been shaping worlds beyond our screens for centuries, guarding realms that humans can only glimpse in whispers and shadows? Today, we're diving into that enigma, uncovering how these legends stand as protectors of hidden domains. And I'll share mysteries that span every region, leaving you questioning everything you thought you knew about the Pokémon universe. Think about it. In the vast lore of Pokémon, legendaries like Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres aren't random bosses to catch. They're embodiments of nature's fury and balance, perched on the edges of worlds we rarely see. They guard hidden realms, places like the Distortion World, where time and space twist like a bad dream, or the depths of the oceans where Kyogre slumbers, holding back the tides that could swallow continents. These aren't just stories for kids. They're archetypes of ancient myths, echoing tales from our own history where gods and monsters enforce the natural order. You feel that pull, don't you? That sense that there's more to these creatures than battles and badges. They're the keys to worlds tucked away, invisible to the everyday trainer hustling through gyms. And it's not just one region holding these secrets. Across Kanto, Johto, Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova, Kalos, Alola, Galar, and even Paldea, unsolved mysteries swirl around these guardians, like fog on a forgotten trail. In Johto, the towers of Burn Tower and Bell Tower aren't just spots for encounters. They're portals to spiritual planes, where Ho-Oh and Lugia maintain harmony between the living and the departed. Legend says if that balance tips, the region crumbles, fires rage unchecked, or endless storms drown the land. But why? What hidden world do they protect that we can't access? Fast forward to Hoenn, where Groudon and Kyogre clash not just over land and sea, but over primal forces that could reshape the planet itself. Explorers have whispered about underground caverns pulsing with energy, sealed by these titans to prevent catastrophe. You ever wonder if those sealings are permanent, or if one wrong move by a human could unleash it all? Then there's Sinnoh, with its creation myths tied to Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. These aren't fairy tales. They're blueprints for reality itself. Dialga commands time, ticking away eras in hidden chronal voids where past and future bleed together. Palkia warps space, folding dimensions into pockets that trainers stumble into by accident. Remember those warped routes in the games? They're hints of real rifts, and Giratina, exiled to the Distortion World, it guards the balance against chaos, a shadowy enforcer ensuring the universe doesn't unravel. Unsolved questions pile up here. What if these distortions aren't random? What if they're warnings, leaks from worlds on the brink of invasion? Unova's Reshiram and Zekrom embody truth and ideals, but their legend hints at a fractured realm of forgotten ideals where human ambition once shattered a utopia. Kalos hides Eternatus in its core, a being from another world that nearly ended everything. Its meteor crash wasn't chance, it was a guardian failing its post. Alola's Tapus protect islands from ultra beasts, those interdimensional horrors slipping through cracks in reality. Galar's Zacian and Zamazenta seal away a dark power in slumbering thrones, and Paldea's Wo-Chien and its Kinech curses into history from ancient tablets. Each region teases a puzzle piece, hidden worlds colliding with ours, guarded by legendaries who watch, wait, and sometimes intervene. But how deep do these mysteries go? What if the games are just the surface, and the real enigmas lurk in reports no one believes? Let's zero in on that first hook, something that'll make you lean in closer. Back in 1995, just as Pokémon was exploding onto the scene in Japan, a hiker in the rugged mountains of Kanto, yes, the real-world inspiration for the game's starting region, claimed to spot something impossible. He was trekking near Mount Fuji, an area locals have long associated with spiritual guardians, when he saw a massive bird-like shadow soaring low over the peaks. Not an eagle or a condor, this thing was electric blue, crackling with what he swore were actual sparks, wings spanning wider than any aircraft he'd seen. He snapped a blurry photo on his old camera, but the real kicker? The date. This was months before Zapdos was even conceptualized in the games. The man, a retired professor named Hiroshi Tanaka, documented it in a local journal, describing how the creature dove toward a hidden cave, emitting a cry that echoed like thunder, but left no storm in its wake. Defying all game law, where Zapdos is tied to the power plant and electric storms, Tanaka's account placed it in a sacred shrine area, as if guarding an ancient power source long forgotten. You might dismiss it as a hoax, a misidentified plane, or wishful thinking from a fan. But here's where it gets chilling. Tanaka's description matches Zapdos to a T. The plumage, the electric aura, even the way it seemed to phase through mist like it wasn't fully bound to our plane. He noted symbols on the cave entrance, carvings resembling Pokeballs but predating the franchise by centuries. Skeptics pored over the photo, but enhancements showed anomalies. A faint energy trail, like static on film, that no 90s tech could fake. And get this, local folklore from that exact region speaks of a thunderbird that appears only during solar eclipses, protecting a hidden world beneath the mountain where electric energies flow unchecked. In the games, Zapdos is one of 3 birds guarding Kanto's balance, but this sighting suggests something more. A real-world echo, defying the law by implying these guardians aren't fictional constructs, but archetypes drawn from actual mysteries. What if Game Freak didn't invent Zapdos? What if they tapped into reports like Tanaka's, weaving truth into myth? You feel that tingle, right? That question nagging, is this coincidence or proof that legendaries bridge our world and theirs? Pushing further, these sightings aren't isolated. Across regions, similar tales emerge, teasing those unsolved puzzles. In Hoenn's real-world counterpart, the islands of Okinawa, fishermen in the 80s reported a serpentine shadow under the waves, massive and glowing, calming a tsunami with a single roar. Kyogre's blueprint before primal reversion was a thing. Johto's Lake of Rage, inspired by real Swiss lakes where witnesses saw a silver dragon surfacing, mirroring Lugia's dives. But Kanto's report stands out because it predates the media frenzy. No fame to gain, just a man shaken by what he saw. It defies the law's containment, Zapdos as a game entity, catchable and tamed, suggesting instead a wild eternal guardian slipping into our reality. Imagine the implications. If one legendary breached like that, what others are out there, watching? Now let's reveal something even more profound. Ancient texts, buried in archives from across Asia and Europe, hint that these legendaries didn't just guard worlds, they influenced human history itself. Take the Voynich manuscript, that undeciphered tome from the 15th century, filled with bizarre illustrations of plants, stars, and what look like mythical beasts. Scholars have puzzled over it for ages, but zoom in on the folios. Drawings of winged figures commanding storms, serpents coiling around cosmic eggs, and trios of birds in eternal flight. Sound familiar? Articuno, Zapdos, Moltres perhaps, or the creation trio of Sinnoh. Carbon dating places it centuries before Pokémon. Yet the motifs align too perfectly. Guardians enforcing balance, punishing hubris. Japanese scrolls from the Heian period describe kami beasts that shaped the land. A time dragon forging eras, a space whale expanding realms, echoing Dialga and Palkia. These aren't coincidences, they're threads in a tapestry where legendaries intervened in our past. Consider the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of humanity's oldest stories. The hero seeks immortality, facing a flood sent by wrathful gods, but embedded are tales of a world serpent holding back chaos, much like Rayquaza in Hoenn's ozone layer, or Jirachi granting wishes from a hidden Millennium comet. What if these myths aren't metaphors? What if ancient scribes witnessed legendaries at pivotal moments, like the parting of seas or the birthing of mountains? In Chinese lore, the Dragon King controls rains, but deeper texts speak of a blue whale-like entity beneath the waves, calming tempests, Kyogre's ancient kin. Even Native American Thunderbird legends, with their electric wings and mountain perches, mirror Zapdos so closely it's eerie. These texts suggest legendaries as historical actors, preventing cataclysms, inspiring civilizations, or sealing away forbidden knowledge in hidden worlds. You see the pattern, don't you? From Sumerian tablets to Mayan codices, guardians appear as enforcers of cosmic law. The revelation of Arceus? Not just a game myth, echoes in Vedic texts where a supreme creator oversees dial-like time wheels and spatial folds. Unsolved mysteries abound. Why do these texts predate Pokémon by millennia? Were early game designers channeling collective unconscious, or is there a deeper truth? In one Tibetan manuscript, a phantom fox guards illusionary realms, shifting forms to test travelers, Zoroark's legendary counterpart, influencing folklore that shaped human paths. Another, from Egyptian papyri, describes a sunbird rising from ashes, birthing light, Ho-Oh perhaps, tied to phoenix myths that preserve knowledge through dark ages. These revelations paint legendaries not as distant icons, but as woven into our timeline. They guarded hidden worlds from misuse, the Mirage Kingdom's illusory domains, the Ultra Space's rifts, the Ghost World's veils. Human history bears their marks, empires rising under protective wings, falling to unchecked ambition. Think of the Library of Alexandria's loss. Some theorists whisper a guardian, like Cresselia, intervened in dreams to hide forbidden lore, or Entei's flames tested the worthy. It's thrilling, isn't it, that these beings could have steered our story, leaving enigmas for us to unravel. But one legend stands at the crossroads of creation and catastrophe, a shadow born from human folly that blurs the line between guardian and monster. Up next, in Mewtwo's shadowy creation, we'll uncover the dark experiments that birthed a legendary not from myth, but from science gone wrong. A tale that questions if we can ever truly control these hidden powers. What secrets does Mewtwo hold that could shatter worlds? Stick around, you won't want to miss how it all unfolds. Mewtwo's shadowy creation. Mewtwo wasn't born from the whispers of ancient myths or the fury of a cosmic storm. No, it was forged in the sterile glow of a hidden laboratory, a product of human ambition run wild. In the world of Pokémon, where legends like Rayquaza soar through the skies as guardians of balance, Mewtwo stands apart as the ultimate defiance of nature. A clone, engineered from the DNA of the elusive Mew, that tiny pink harbinger of genetic potential. But here's what shakes the foundations of everything you thought you knew. If Mewtwo is just a lab experiment gone rogue, does that strip it of its legendary status, or does it make it something far more terrifying? An abomination that humanity itself unleashed upon the world. Let's pull back the curtain on how this all began. Back in the shadows of the Kanto region, long before trainers like you or I ever dreamed of catching our first Pokémon, a team of rogue scientists under the banner of Team Rocket set out to play God. They captured a Mew, that mythical creature, said to contain the DNA of all Pokémon, and in a facility buried deep beneath the Cinnabar Island volcano, they began splicing, editing, and amplifying. The goal? To create the most powerful psychic-type Pokémon ever conceived. They accelerated Mew's growth, infused it with enhancements drawn from other species, and poured in psychic amplifiers that no ethical researcher would touch. The result was Mewtwo, a being with intelligence rivaling a human's, but twisted by rage and isolation from the moment it opened its eyes. You can almost feel the chill of that birth chamber, can't you? Tubes humming with electric life, monitors beeping as vital signs spike unnaturally high. Mewtwo didn't emerge cooing like a newborn, it shattered its containment pod in a psychic blast that leveled half the lab. The scientists who created it, they called it a success, but deep down, They knew they'd birthed a monster. Not a legend forged by time and tales, but an abomination held up to humanity's darkest impulses. Is that what defines a legend now? Raw power born from science? Or does it need the romance of the wild unknown? Think about it. Every time you battle a Mewtwo in the games, or spot it in the anime, that purple armor and piercing gaze remind you it's not natural. It's us, reflected back in exaggerated form, our hubris given claws and telekinesis. But the story doesn't end in that lab, far from it. What if I told you that Mewtwo didn't just escape, it vanished into the ether, rewriting the rules of the ecosystems it touched without a single official record? That's the twist that keeps researchers up at night, pieced together from what some call the Kanto leaks, a cache of documents that surfaced on underground forums about a decade ago. These weren't your typical conspiracy files. They were stamped with Team Rocket insignias, detailing post-escape monitoring logs that the organisation tried to bury. According to these leaked reports, Mewtwo broke free during a stormy night in the late 90s. Timeline adjusted for our Pokémon lore, of course. Alarms blared as it phased through walls with its psychic might, leaving behind a trail of unconscious guards and fried equipment. Team Rocket's initial pursuit teams tracked it to the outskirts of Cerulean City, where it dove into the shadows of Cerulean Cave. But here's the bombshell. The documents claim Mewtwo didn't just hide, it adapted, subtly influencing the local wildlife in ways that altered entire food chains. Pokémon populations shifted overnight, Abra lines grew more aggressive, their psychic pulses syncing in unnatural harmony as if echoing Mewtwo's own frequency. Water types in the nearby cape began exhibiting telepathic traits, schools of Goldeen coordinating attacks on intruders with eerie precision. You see, these leaks describe how Mewtwo, in its quest for solitude, imprinted on the environment. It wasn't rampaging, it was surviving, and in doing so, it reshaped reality on a molecular level. One entry, from a scientist codenamed Dr. Voss, notes anomalous energy readings spiking across Kanto's northern wilds. Forests that were once teeming with bug types suddenly favoured psychic evolutions, with Venonat pods evolving into Venomoth at rates triple the norm. The documents speculate that Mewtwo's mere presence acted like a catalyst, accelerating mutations that scientists could only dream of in controlled settings. Undetected? Absolutely. Because who would believe that a single escaped experiment could rewrite ecosystems without satellites or rangers noticing? The leaks end abruptly with a frantic note: subject has integrated, pursuit futile, ecosystems stable but changed. This isn't just dry data, it's a wake-up call. Imagine you're a trainer hiking through those very caves today, your Pokédex beeping erratically as it fails to classify a flock of Pidgey that hover with unnatural stillness, their eyes glowing faintly purple. That's the legacy of Mewtwo's escape, silent, pervasive, turning legends into living experiments. But don't take my word for it. The real proof lies in the voices of those who claim to have seen it up close. The survivors from Cerulean Cave, who whisper tales that blur the line between hallucination and horror. Take, for instance, the account of Elias Thorne, a veteran explorer who ventured into the cave back in 2005. He was mapping uncharted tunnels for the Pokémon League when he stumbled upon a chamber pulsing with an otherworldly light. In his testimony, shared anonymously on a now-defunct forum before he vanished from public view, Elias described a figure towering in the shadows, tall, armoured, with eyes like twin voids. It wasn't angry, he said. It was curious, like it was studying me, peeling back my thoughts layer by layer. Mewtwo didn't attack. Instead, it projected visions into his mind, flashes of the lab's cold sterility, the pain of forced awakening, the betrayal of its creators. Elias emerged days later, disoriented, his slowpoke refusing to leave his side and exhibiting boosted psychic moves it never had before. Then there's Mira Voss, no relation to the Doctor, also she claims, a young trainer who got separated from her group during a cave expedition in 2012. Her story, recounted in a chilling podcast interview, paints Mewtwo as a guardian of secrets. She recalls the air growing heavy, the drip of water halting as if time froze. From the darkness, Mewtwo appeared, its tail whipping like a live wire. But instead of a battle, it communicated through telepathy, warning her of the chains below. Mira swears it showed her glimpses of altered ecosystems, rivers in the cave teeming with Psyduck that predicted earthquakes, Zubat swarms forming psychic barriers against outsiders. She barely escaped, her team forever changed. Her Kadabra now reads her intentions before she voices them. Skeptics call it mass hysteria, but Mira's Pokédex logs, leaked alongside the documents, show energy spikes consistent with mega-level psychic interference. And it's not just isolated incidents. Gather any group of Cerulean locals around a campfire, and you'll hear echoes of similar encounters. Old fisherman tales of Magikarp leaping from the cape with precognitive splashes, guiding boats away from storms. Hikers reporting déjà vu so intense, it loops their steps until they turn back. One survivor, a retired gym leader who wishes to remain nameless, confided in a private letter that Mewtwo isn't hiding out of fear. It's watching, ensuring its alterations take root without human interference. It's not a legend, he wrote. It's evolution's next step, and we're the obsolete ones. These eyewitnesses aren't chasing fame. They're haunted, their lives intersected by something that defies categorization. You have to wonder, if Mewtwo can slip through the cracks, reshaping the world undetected, what else have we missed? The leaked documents hint at broader implications. Rumours of Mewtwo influencing distant regions, seeding psychic anomalies in Johto's ruins or even Sinnoh's lakes. But that's a rabbit hole for another time. What these stories drive home is the fragility of our understanding. Mewtwo challenges us to redefine what a legend is. Is it the untouchable divine, or a creation born of our own hands, now free to judge us? As we peel back these layers, you start to see how one artificial being could upend everything. The labs that birthed it, abandoned husks now, but their echoes linger in every psychic Pokémon that seems a little too aware. And those ecosystems, they've stabilised, sure, but at what cost? Populations evolve faster, bonds between trainers and Pokémon deepen unnaturally, all thanks to a shadow that moves unseen. It's thrilling, isn't it? The idea that power like that could be out there, waiting, perhaps even reaching out to you on your next adventure. But let's not get lost in the purple haze just yet. These revelations about Mewtwo's origins and its quiet conquests only scratch the surface of the mysteries lurking in the Pokémon world. If an engineered legend can rewrite nature without a trace, imagine what frozen secrets a bird of ice might hold, guarding perils that could encase entire regions in eternal winter. Up next, we'll uncover Articuno's frozen secrets, where one wrong step could mean chilling discoveries that freeze your blood. Stick around. You won't want to miss how this icy enigma ties into the shadows we've just explored. Articuno's frozen secrets. Deep in the Seafoam Islands, where the ocean crashes against jagged basalt cliffs, Articuno reigns as the embodiment of winter's unyielding grip. This legendary bird Pokémon isn't just a myth from Pokédex entries, it's tied to real-world enigmas that scientists still can't fully explain. Have you ever wondered why certain polar regions exhibit bizarre temperature fluctuations that defy seasonal norms? Let's dive into the frozen heart of Articuno's domain and uncover secrets that blur the line between legend and science. Picture yourself navigating the labyrinthine caves of the Seafoam Islands off the coast of Kanto. These aren't your average seaside grottos. They're a network of underground chambers carved by millennia of tidal forces and glacial shifts. The air here drops to bone-chilling levels, even in summer, with walls encrusted in perpetual ice that gleams like sapphire under faint light. Local fishermen have long whispered about a massive crystalline bird soaring above the waves, its wings stirring blizzards that swallow ships whole. But what if those tales point to something tangible? Explorers in the 1980s during early Pokémon League expeditions documented anomalous cold spots emanating from these islands, pockets of sub-zero air that persisted year-round, unrelated to ocean currents or atmospheric pressure. You see, the Seafoam Islands sit at a unique convergence point. To the north, Arctic influences bleed southward, while warm equatorial waters lap at their shores. Yet, within the island's depths, temperatures plummet to -20 degrees Celsius, far colder than expected. Researchers from the Pokémon Research Institute have mapped these anomalies using thermal imaging drones, revealing heat sinks that absorb warmth like black holes in the sky. It's as if an invisible force is pumping cold into the environment, stabilizing the ecosystem in ways that benefit rare ice-type Pokémon. Articuno, with its icy plumage and cryokinetic powers, seems to be the architect of this phenomenon. Eyewitness accounts from trainers who ventured too deep describe sudden frost forming on their skin, accompanied by a haunting cry echoing through the caverns, a sound like shattering glass mixed with the wind's howl. But why here, in these islands? The connection to broader polar anomalies is where things get truly fascinating. Across the globe, from Antarctica's Ross Ice Shelf to the Arctic's Beaufort Sea, unexplained cold snaps have puzzled climatologists. In 2019, a team from the International Pokémon Ecology Society noted a correlation. These events often align with reported Articuno sightings or migrations. Take the 1994 incident off the coast of Sinnoh, where a research vessel encountered a freak ice wall forming overnight in open water. Crew members swore they saw a colossal blue silhouette circling overhead before the freeze intensified. Satellite data from that era, declassified years later, showed a temporary dip in regional temperatures by 5 degrees, mirroring patterns observed near Seafoam. As you explore deeper into Articuno's icy domain, the islands reveal layers of mystery. The central chamber, known as the B3F level in Pokémon lore, houses a massive geothermal spring that's paradoxically frozen solid. Water bubbles up from volcanic vents below, only to crystallize instantly upon exposure. Biologists hypothesize that Articuno's presence creates a localized aura of perpetual winter, drawing on atmospheric moisture to form these barriers. It's a natural fortress, protecting nesting sites for cryogonal and other ice Pokémon that thrive in extremes no other species could endure. Imagine standing at the edge of that frozen pool, feeling the chill seep into your bones, knowing that one flap of Articuno's wings could unleash a storm capable of reshaping coastlines. This isn't mere speculation. Field studies confirm the island's role as a nexus for polar oddities. In the early 2000s, a joint expedition between Kanto University and the Hoenn Weather Institute deployed buoys around Seafoam to monitor salinity and temperature. What they found were rhythmic pulses of supercooled air emanating from the caves, syncing with lunar cycles. These pulses extend far beyond the islands, influencing weather patterns as distant as the Orange Archipelago. It's like Articuno is a living thermostat, regulating the planet's thermal balance in subtle ways. Trainers who've caught glimpses of it describe an aura of ancient wisdom, as if the bird is aware of its duty to maintain this equilibrium. Now let's turn to the revelation that's shaken up Pokémon biology. Satellite imagery exposing hidden migration patterns that defy everything we know. High-resolution photos from NASA's Pokémon observation program, captured between 2015 and 2022, track Articuno's flights across the poles. What they show isn't random wandering, it's a precise annual circuit linking the seafoam islands to remote ice caps in both hemispheres. Starting in late autumn, Articuno departs Kanto, soaring northward to the Arctic Circle, where it circles sites like the North Pole's perennial sea ice. From there, it veers south, touching down in Antarctic fjords, before looping back through uncharted Pacific routes. Here's the mind-bender. These paths don't follow wind currents or food sources, as expected for a migratory bird. Instead, they trace ley lines of magnetic anomalies, Earth's geomagnetic weak spots where compasses spin wildly. Traditional biology says no avian species migrates like this. Birds rely on solar cues and landmarks, not invisible energy fields. Yet Articuno's trajectory aligns perfectly with these geomagnetic hotspots, suggesting it navigates using innate psychosensory abilities, perhaps tapping into the planet's auroral energies. One image from 2018 captures it mid-flight over the Weddell Sea, wings aglow with bioluminescent frost, coinciding with a recorded spike in polar vortex intensity. Scientists at the Pallet Town lab analysed the data and concluded that Articuno isn't just travelling, it's intervening, seeding ice formations to counteract warming trends. You might be thinking, how does this tie back to seafoam? The islands serve as Articuno's anchor point, a recharge station where it absorbs cryogenic essence from the underground aquifers. During solstice periods, satellite feeds show increased activity, flocks of smaller icebergs like Delibird converging on the caves as if summoned by their legendary kin. This migration defies biology because Articuno doesn't eat or rest like ordinary Pokémon. Spectral analysis of its energy signature reveals it sustains itself on ambient cold, converting thermal gradients into pure vitality. It's a revelation that rewrites migration theory, not just for Pokémon, but potentially for understanding extremophile life on Earth. Delve a bit further and you'll uncover personal stories that bring this to life. Take Professor Oak's assistant, a young researcher named Elena, who in 2016 led a dive team into seafoam sublevels. Stranded by a sudden blizzard, blamed on Articuno's territorial cry, they huddled in a side cavern, instruments beeping wildly as temperatures crashed. Elena later recounted in her journal how a soft, azure light filtered through cracks in the ice, warming just enough to reveal etched runes on the walls, symbols depicting a winged guardian circling the poles, preserving the freeze. When rescue arrived, their gear showed migration pings, echoes of Articuno's path, logged as impossible vectors that bent around storms. These patterns aren't static, they're evolving, and that's where the complication arises. Modern climate change is threatening Articuno's eternal vigil in ways we can't ignore. Rising global temperatures, driven by industrial emissions and deforestation, are eroding the polar foundations Articuno relies on. Satellite imagery from the last decade shows its migration routes compressing. Flights that once spanned 10,000 kilometers now shorten by up to 20%, as melting ice caps disrupt the geomagnetic cues. In the seafoam islands, the perpetual frost is thinning. Core samples from 2023 reveal layers of ice melting. From below, tainted by warmer ocean inflows. Imagine the pressure on Articuno, this solitary sentinel, bound by ancient instinct to patrol the poles, now faces a world that's heating up faster than it can counter. Reports from Unova's cold storage facility, a similar icy haven, describe weakened blizzards and fleeing Pokémon populations. If Articuno's domain destabilizes, we could see cascading effects, accelerated sea level rise, disrupted migration for countless species, even anomalies like the 2021 Greenland heatwave that followed a delayed Articuno sighting. Environmentalists argue it's a call to action. Pokémon rangers have proposed protected zones around seafoam using artificial cooling tech to mimic Articuno's influence. But can technology replace a legend's touch? The bird's cries, once a symphony of power, now carry an undertone of urgency, as if pleading for the world to remember its role. This threat adds a layer of tragedy to Articuno's story. For millennia, it's woven cold into the fabric of our planet, linking isolated anomalies into a global web of winter. Trainers who bond with it, like those in the Elite Four, speak of a profound sadness in its eyes, a knowledge that its vigil might be ending. Yet there's hope in the revelation of its migrations. By understanding these patterns, we can map conservation efforts, perhaps even aiding Articuno in its flights. As you reflect on this frozen legacy, consider how one Pokémon's secrets mirror our own environmental crossroads. What happens when ice meets thunder, and a storm brews that could eclipse even Articuno's chill? In the next chapter, Zapdos's electric storm will chase the sparks of another legend whose fury might just ignite the skies in ways you never imagined. Zapdos's electric storm. In the heart of the Kanto region, where rusted towers pierce the stormy skies, lightning strikes more than 300 times per year at the abandoned power plant. But what if those bolts aren't random? What if they're the deliberate fury of Zapdos, the electric legend itself, calling down tempests to reclaim what's rightfully its domain? You've heard the tales, but stick with me because we're diving into the electrifying truth behind Zapdos's storms, and it might just shock you. Not as some distant myth, but as a force that's been documented, measured, and maybe even feared by those who live near those crumbling ruins. The power plant, once a buzzing hub of human ingenuity on Route 10, now stands as a skeletal reminder of progress gone wrong. Built in the 20th century, it powered cities until a catastrophic overload shut it down for good. Or so the official records say. Eyewitnesses from the era, trainers and locals alike, reported unnatural weather patterns right before the failure. Skies darkening without warning, thunder rumbling like an approaching stampede, and bolts of lightning zeroing in on the facility with eerie precision. Meteorologists scratched their heads. No storm system could explain the concentration. Over 80% of the strikes hit within a 500-metre radius of the main generator hall, far beyond statistical norms. It's as if the plant itself was a magnet, drawing down the rage of the heavens, and that's where Zapdos enters the picture. Not as a playful Pokémon zipping through clouds, but as a summoner of tempests that feel personal, vengeful even. In the Pokémon lore, Zapdos is the guardian of thunder, a massive bird whose wings crackle with raw electricity, capable of whipping up gales that split mountains. But let's ground this in what trainers have encountered. Reports from the anime and games describe Zapdos nesting in the power plant's depths, its presence amplifying the air's charge until the whole area hums with potential disaster. Imagine you're a young explorer, flashlight cutting through the gloom of those corridors, when suddenly the lights flicker, not from failing bulbs but from surges that dance along the walls like living veins. That's the signature of Zapdos at work, channeling storms from afar to protect its territory. Trainers who've challenged it speak of winds that lift boulders, rain that stings like needles, and lightning that branches out like seeking fingers, all orchestrated by that piercing cry echoing through the ruins. But why the power plant? Why not some wild mountain peak? The connection runs deeper than habitat. This isn't just a bird seeking shelter. It's a legend tied to the very essence of electricity, born from the clash of storm clouds in ancient times, according to Pokédex entries. Humans encroached with their wires and turbines, siphoning the power that Zapdos embodies. So it fights back with storms that overload circuits, short out machinery, and remind us who's really in control. Data from the Pokémon World's Weather Service, yes, they track this, shows spike in lightning clusters during reported Zapdos sightings. In one infamous event in 1995, during a League expedition, a team of researchers monitoring the plant recorded 47 strikes in under an hour, all converging on the exact spot where Zapdos was later confirmed to roost. The equipment fried instantly, but not before capturing audio, a screech that warped the recordings, like thunder laced with a bird's wrath. Now you might be thinking, okay, that's creepy, but is it real? Let's talk evidence that blurs the line between game and reality. In our world, abandoned power plants like Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island see anomalous electrical activity too. Static builds up in the decay, attracting storms. Translate that to Kanto, and Zapdos becomes the living embodiment, a Pokémon whose storms aren't chaotic but targeted. Folklore from the region whispers of Thunder's Avenger, a spirit that rises when machines steal the sky's fire. Trainers in Vermilion City still share stories around campfires. One kid, barely 10, ventured too close during a squall and watched as lightning formed a cage around him, herding him away from the plant's gates. He emerged unscathed, but his poker gear was toast, displaying error codes that read like a warning: overcharge, overload, retreat. As we peel back these layers, the narrative shifts. Zapdos isn't just summoning tempests for sport, it's waging a quiet war against intrusion. Those lightning clusters in the power plant ruins, they're Zapdos' signature, a pattern repeated across sightings. In the games, catching Zapdos triggers a storm event that persists for days, mirroring real-world reports from fans who've role-played expeditions. But here's where it gets personal for you. Have you ever lost power during a freak storm, right when you're deep into a Pokémon marathon? Coincidence, or a distant echo of Zapdos flexing its influence? The ruins draw it like a beacon, the residual energy from human tech calling to its electric soul, and in response, Zapdos unleashes hell from the clouds. Delving deeper, let's explore how these tempests form under Zapdos' command. It starts with static buildup. Zapdos feathers generate fields strong enough to ionize the air, creating pathways for lightning to follow. Scientists in the Pokémon universe, like Professor Oak's contemporaries, theorize that its body acts as a natural capacitor, storing and releasing gigajoules in bursts. Tie that to the power plant, and you have a feedback loop. The ruins' metal skeletons amplify the charge, drawing more strikes, which in turn summon Zapdos to feed on the chaos. Eyewitness accounts describe it perched on the highest spire, eyes glowing like arc welders, wings spread wide as cumulonimbus clouds gather overhead. The air pressure drops, humidity spikes, and then, boom, the tempest descends. Winds clock to over 100 kilometers per hour, hail the size of Pokeballs, and lightning that illuminates the night like daylight. It's not weather, it's a performance, a display of dominance. But wait, because the real twist is about to hit you harder than a thunderbolt. Forget the image of a majestic bird soaring free. Zapdos, in the oldest folklore of Kanto's indigenous people, isn't a creature at all. It's a vengeful spirit, born from the wrath of ancient storms personified. Legends passed down through elders in Cerulean City speak of Zapdos as the soul of a forgotten thunder god, trapped in avian form after humans first harnessed fire from the skies. Not just a bird, but an entity of pure retribution, haunting places where technology mocks the natural order. The power plant? It's ground zero for this grudge. When construction began, workers unearthed relics, carvings of a winged shadow punishing hubris, and ignored the omens. Storms followed, strikes felled cranes, and whispers grew that Zapdos was the guardian spirit, rising to avenge the desecration. In one tale, a foreman who mocked the legends was struck by a bolt that left him unharmed but branded with feather-like scars, a living warning. This isn't Pokémon lore from a manual, it's woven into the cultural fabric, suggesting Zapdos tempests are cries for restitution, not random fury. You feel that chill yet? This revelation reframes everything. Those lightning clusters aren't accidents. They're summons from a spirit scorned, using the power plant as its altar. Trainers who befriend Zapdos in the games often describe a bond that calms storms, as if appeasing the spirits within. But anger it and the skies open up. Reports from competitive battles show Zapdos moves like drill peck charged with otherworldly vengeance, piercing defences as if settling scores. And in the ruins, the air still crackles with that energy, a perpetual storm waiting to break. Imagine standing there yourself, the wind howling through broken windows, feeling the ground tremble under each distant rumble. Is Zapdos watching, deciding if you're ally or foe? Expanding on this, the theorized connection to human tech failures worldwide takes it global. What if Zapdos' influence isn't confined to Kanto? Anomalous blackouts, from the 2003 Northeast US grid collapse to unexplained surges in Japan's power lines, mirror the patterns seen at the power plant. Pokémon theorists, blending real science with lore, propose that Zapdos, as a spirit of electricity, resonates with our world's infrastructure. Every time we push the limits, building smarter grids, launching electric vehicles, there's a spike in freak weather events tied to electrical anomalies. In Hoenn, similar legends link Regis to polar tech glitches, but Zapdos, it's the wild card, its tempests rippling across dimensions. A study by the Pokémon Research Institute noted that during global solar flares, lightning hotspots align with legendary sightings, suggesting Zapdos amplifies these events, causing cascading failures. Think about the 1965 New York blackout. Millions plunged into darkness by a relay malfunction, preceded by unprecedented thunder. Coincidence? Or the vengeful spirit reminding us that power isn't ours to hoard? Let's break it down, with examples that hit close to home. In the Pokémon Adventures manga, Zapdos orchestrates a storm that cripples Team Rocket's operations, their machines exploding in electric backlash. Translate to reality. Hackers targeting power plants often face unexplained surges, as if an unseen force intervenes. One whistleblower from a European facility claimed devices shorted during a drill, with CCTV capturing static bursts forming bird-like shapes. Wild, right? But it fuels the theory. Zapdos, the eternal avenger, subtly sabotages tech that encroaches on its realm. Worldwide, from Australia's bushfires sparking lightning to California's grid strains, the pattern holds. Clusters of strikes near energy hubs, unexplained and intense. You're left wondering as you charge your phone tonight if that faint static is just interference or a whisper from the storm spirit. This connection grows darker when you consider the environmental toll. Human tech failures don't just black out cities, they poison lands, much like the power plant's lingering radiation in lore. Zapdos's tempests, in response, accelerate decay, flooding basements, eroding structures, pushing nature's reclamation. Folklore warns that ignoring the spirit invites escalation. Bigger storms, deadlier strikes, until balance is restored. Trainers who've studied this, like those in the Elite Four, advocate for harmony, using Pokémon to mitigate rather than conquer. But as our world electrifies further, smart cities, AI grids, the question looms. How many more failures before Zapdos unleashes a global tempest? Yet amidst the vengeance, there's a flicker of hope. Encounters with Zapdos often end in awe, not destruction, suggesting the spirit seeks understanding, not annihilation. If you were to trek to those ruins, Pokeballs ready, you'd feel the pull, the thrill of facing a legend that's more than myth, a force shaping our world from the shadows. The lightning clusters, the tech woes, the ancient tales, they all converge on one truth. Zapdos isn't just electric, it's elemental, eternal, and watching. As we wrap up this charged chapter on Zapdos Electric Storm, the air feels heavier, doesn't it? But the mysteries don't end here. Up next in Chapter 5, Moltres' fiery rebirth will uncover how flames of legend ignite renewal from ashes, secrets that could redefine destruction as destiny. You won't want to miss how this fiery force rises, pulling you deeper into the unknown. Moltres' fiery rebirth. Deep within the shadowed crags of Victory Road, where the air shimmers with heat and the ground trembles underfoot, Moltres doesn't just exist, it embodies a relentless cycle of destruction and renewal that has puzzled trainers and scholars for generations. You've probably faced this fiery legend in battles, watching its wings ignite the sky like a living inferno. But what if I told you that its presence there isn't random? It's tied to something far more primal, a rhythm as old as the mountains themselves. Let's dive right into the heart of it. Victory Road, that labyrinthine tunnel system in the Kanto region, isn't just a grueling test for aspiring champions. It's a volcanic hotspot, riddled with magma chambers and geothermal vents that pulse like the veins of a colossal beast. Moltres, the flame Pokémon, makes its home in these depths, not as a mere resident, but as a catalyst. Picture the scene. You're navigating those narrow passages, your flashlight cutting through the steam, when suddenly the walls glow with an unnatural orange hue. That's Moltres stirring. Its cycle begins with destruction, flames that scorch the earth, melting rock into rivers of lava, clearing away the old and decayed. But here's where it gets fascinating. This isn't mindless chaos, it's renewal in action. After the blaze fades, fresh minerals crystallize from the cooled magma, enriching the soil and fostering new life. Caves that were once barren sprout with heat-loving fungi, and crystals that sparkle like stars. Trainers who've emerged from deeper expeditions report seeing scorched tunnels transformed overnight, as if the land itself has been reborn. You might wonder, how does a single Pokémon orchestrate something this massive? Moltres' biology, or should I say, its legendary essence, plays a key role. Its body generates temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to rival the sun's surface. When it takes flight through Victory Road's caverns, those wings fan embers that ignite volatile gases trapped in the rock. Boom. Controlled eruptions that reshape the terrain. But it's not just physical. There's a symbiotic bond here. The volcano feeds Moltres, providing the geothermal energy it needs to sustain its eternal flame, while Moltres, in turn, prevents catastrophic buildups. Without it, those pressures could lead to region-wide disasters. Think about your own journeys. Every time you've pushed through Victory Road, feeling the heat intensify, you are brushing against this cycle. It's why some trainers swear they hear a distant roar syncing with seismic rumbles, nature's own alarm clock. Now let's unpack this cycle more deeply, because it's not a one-off event. Historical accounts from Kanto's ancient scribes describe Moltres as a harbinger of seasonal change. In the dry months, when lava flows threaten to overrun nearby villages, sightings spike. The Pokémon descends, its tail feathers trailing sparks that ignite the overgrowth, preventing larger fires from spreading uncontrollably. Destruction, yes, but purposeful. Then comes the renewal phase. Rains follow, turning ash into fertile ground. Flowers bloom in the cracks of cooled basalt, and rare Pokémon like Magmar and Slugma thrive in the newly formed hot springs. It's a dance of fire and rebirth where Moltres acts as both destroyer and healer. You've got to appreciate the poetry in that. A creature born of flame, ensuring the world's endurance. But what really elevates this from Pokémon lore to something almost mythical is the pattern in the records. Pull out any dusty tome from the Indigo League archives, and you'll find it. Volcanic eruptions in Kanto have synced eerily with Moltres sightings for centuries. Take the Great Eruption of 1452, documented by early explorers. Witnesses reported a massive bird of fire silhouetted against the ash cloud just hours before Mount Moon's flank blew. Coincidence? Hardly. Fast forward to 1923, during a minor quake near Cerulean City. Eyewitnesses, including a group of travelling merchants, sketched a blazing figure circling the vents right as pressure released in a spectacular display. And it's not isolated. Seismic logs from the Pokémon League correlate over 70% of Kanto's recorded eruptions with Moltres activity. Scientists today use this data to predict activity, setting up observation posts in Victory Road's upper levels. They even tag minor flares with thermal cameras, watching for that telltale wingspan. You see, this revelation isn't just trivia, it's a game changer for how we view legendaries. Imagine you're a researcher huddled in a heat-proof bunker, monitoring feeds as the ground heats up. Suddenly, the readings spike, and there it is, Moltres emerging, its cry echoing like thunder. The eruption follows, but contained, almost guided. Historical texts from the Pokémon world's feudal era describe it as the Fire Guardian's judgment, where the bird's appearances avert total annihilation. One account from a 9th century monk details how Moltres dove into a fissure during a prolonged dry spell, igniting a chain reaction that vented built-up magma without collapsing the mountain. Villages below were spared, and the monk noted lush regrowth the following spring. These aren't tall tales, they're patterns etched in stone. Literally, since lava flows from those events bear scorch marks resembling wing prints. This sync raises profound questions about Moltres' origins. Is it evolving with the land, or is the land shaping it? Dive into the ecology, and you'll find that Victory Road's depths are a pressure cooker of elemental forces. Moltres absorbs ambient heat, amplifying it through its plumage, which acts like a natural fuse. When tensions build, gases from deep earth mixing with surface air, the Pokémon senses it, drawn by instinct or some ancient programming. Its rebirth cycle mirrors this. After each major event, Moltres retreats to smoulder in hidden chambers, emerging renewed, feathers brighter, flames purer. Trainers who've caught glimpses post-eruption describe it as almost serene, perched on obsidian spires, the air around it humming with residual energy. Of course, not everyone's convinced this is pure Pokémon phenomenon. This brings us to the real escalation. The debate raging in academic circles about whether Moltres' story is a phoenix myth borrowed straight into Pokémon lore. You know the phoenix, right? That ancient symbol from human folklore, rising from its own ashes, embodying immortality through fire. Egyptian tales speak of the Bennu bird, igniting and reforming in solar flames. Greek legends have it too, a creature of renewal tied to volcanic isles. Now overlay that on Moltres, a fiery avian that perishes in blaze only to be reborn stronger. Coincidence? Scholars like Professor Oak have weighed in, suggesting early Pokémon designers drew from these archetypes, infusing them with volcanic realism to ground the legend. But here's where it gets heated, and I mean that literally. Detractors argue it's no borrowing. Moltres is an original force, predating human myths. They point to indigenous Kanto tribes who revered a sky burner long before global folklore exchanges. Oral histories from the Pokémon world's pre-League era describe rituals around fiery birds during eruptions, predating any phoenix tales by millennia. Is it cultural convergence, where similar natural events inspire parallel legends? Or did the phoenix myth evolve from early encounters with Moltres itself? Imagine ancient sailors spotting its silhouette over Kanto's volcanoes, carrying the story westward. The debate fuels conferences and fan theories alike. Some even hypothesize a shared ethereal plane, where legendaries like Moltres influence human dreams, seeding these myths organically. Let's explore a specific example to make this tangible. Consider the 1978 Fuchsia City incident, a lesser-known event but pivotal. A team of geologists drilling near Victory Road triggered a minor lava surge. As panic set in, reports flooded in of Moltres circling overhead, its dives seemingly directing the flow away from populated areas. The surge peaked with a sighting at dusk, flames merging with the sunset, and by morning, the threat had cooled. Renewal followed. The diverted lava formed a natural barrier reef in nearby waters, boosting Magikarp populations and fisheries. Historians cross-referenced this with a 2nd century scroll depicting a phoenix-like entity in a similar scenario. Borrowed myth or living legend? You decide, but the parallels are uncanny. Pushing further, think about the implications for trainers. If Moltres' cycle is this intertwined with the land, capturing it isn't just a trophy, it's meddling with nature's balance. Stories abound of tampered eruptions after failed captures where unchecked magma threatened roots. One infamous tale from the 90s involves a rogue trainer whose Ultra Ball shattered mid-battle, unleashing a frenzy that scorched half of Route 23. Renewal came, but at what cost? It took years for the ecosystem to stabilize. This cycle teaches us resilience, doesn't it? Just as Moltres rises from ashes, so do we from our setbacks. Delving into the renewal aspect more, it's not all grand spectacles. On a micro level, Moltres embers seed life. Those flames carry spores from rare fire-type plants, scattering them across renewed grounds. Botanists have catalogued species unique to post-Moltres sites, vibrant red ferns that glow faintly, drawing in fire types for protection. It's a web of interdependence, where destruction paves the way for biodiversity. You can almost feel the warmth of that rebirth when you read eyewitness accounts. The acrid smoke giving way to the scent of fresh earth, the rumble fading to birdsong. The phoenix debate intensifies when you consider Moltres' evolutions, or lack thereof. Unlike standard Pokémon, it doesn't evolve, it self-renews, echoing the phoenix's eternal loop. Critics of the borrowing theory say this purity points to an indigenous origin, untainted by external myths. Proponents counter with artifacts. A Roman-era coin unearthed in Unova, bearing a fiery bird strikingly like Moltres, suggesting trade routes spread the legend early. Forums buzz with this, fans dissecting sprites, comparing wing structures to ancient carvings. It's a rabbit hole that keeps you up at night, questioning where folklore ends and reality begins, and yet, amid the arguments, one truth stands. Moltres' fiery rebirth keeps Victory Road alive, a testament to nature's fury and grace. Whether borrowed myth or primal force, its cycle endures, sinking eruptions with sightings in a rhythm that defies chance. As we wrap this chapter, you can't help but wonder how this solitary blaze fits into a larger pattern. Up next, in Chapter 6, the Legendary Birds Triad, we'll uncover the electrifying connections that bind them all, secrets that could rewrite the skies forever. Stick around. You won't want to miss how their united power challenges everything we thought we knew. The Legendary Birds Triad. In the Pokémon world, Articuno, Zapdos and Moltres form a triad so intertwined that their very existence challenges everything we think we know about legendary Pokémon. These three avian titans, the icy guardian of the seas, the electric sovereign of the skies, and the fiery empress of the volcanoes, don't just roam independently. Their paths cross in ways that suggest a deeper, almost fateful connection. Have you ever wondered why they always seem to appear during times of elemental chaos, as if responding to a shared call? It's not coincidence. Their stories, scattered across regions and generations, reveal a synthesis of destinies that binds them tighter than any Pokeball ever could. Let's start with the basics you might already recall from your journeys through Kanto and Johto. Articuno, with its crystalline feathers that shimmer like frozen waves, is said to calm raging storms at sea. Zapdos, crackling with raw thunder, commands the tempests that reshape mountains. And Moltres, wreathed in eternal flames, ignites the Earth's core to renew life after devastation. On the surface, they embody the primal forces of ice, lightning and fire, opposites that should clash. But dig deeper into the lore, and you'll find moments where these forces don't oppose, they harmonize. Take the events in the Pokémon Red and Blue games. When you first encounter them, each bird guards a power plant, a lighthouse, or a cavern, but their activations coincide with surges in the region's energy. It's as if one awakening stirs the others, like echoes in a vast unseen chamber. You see, their interconnected fates aren't just poetic fluff from the Pokédex entries. In the anime, we watch Ash and his friends chase these legends across the seas, only to find that disturbing one leads to ripples affecting the rest. Remember the episode where Zapdos' storm disrupts Articuno's icy domain, forcing a rare convergence? The birds don't fight each other outright. Instead, their presences amplify, creating a balance that's both beautiful and terrifying. Trainers who've claimed to glimpse them in the wild, those rare verified sightings from fan communities and official reports, often describe a triad pattern. A chill wind precedes a bolt from the blue, followed by a distant glow of flame. It's like they're dancing on the edge of unity, pulled by invisible threads. Now, what if I told you this isn't random? What if their fates are linked by a shattered alliance, a theory that's been whispered in Pokémon research circles for years? Picture this. Long before the regions we explore were mapped, these birds weren't solitary wanderers. They were allies, forged in the fires of creation itself. Ancient texts, pieced together from ruins in the Sevi Islands and the shores of Johto, hint at a time when Articuno, Zapdos and Moltres stood as sentinels together, protecting the world's elemental harmony. Fire to warm, ice to cool, lightning to energize. A perfect triad maintaining the planet's balance. But something broke that alliance. A cataclysm. Perhaps a war between humans and Pokémon. Or even a betrayal from within the Legendary's ranks. The theory posits that this shatter left them fragmented, doomed to wander alone, their powers clashing instead of complementing. Why do I say shattered? Look at the evidence in the games. In Pokémon Yellow, the bird's encounters are tied to Pikachu's electricity, but only When you align their paths, do you unlock hidden areas? It's a subtle nod to their lost unity. Fan theories, backed by data miners, show unused code in early Game Boy cartridges that depicted the three birds in a single sprite, flying in formation, wings interlocked. That code was never released, buried like a secret too dangerous to share. And in the manga adaptations, like Pokémon Adventures, flashbacks where the birds commune at a sacred peak, sharing visions of a world in peril, but each time the vision fractures, mirroring their broken bond. You can feel the tragedy in it, can't you? These majestic creatures, once brothers in arms, now isolated by whatever force tore them apart. But here's where it gets truly mind-bending, the twist that flips everything on its head. Buried in the annals of Pokémon history, there's evidence of an ancient ritual designed to summon all three at once, a ceremony lost to the sands of time. Scholars poring over stone tablets from the ruins of the Orange Islands have deciphered fragments of a chant, etched in a script older than the Tower of Mastery. It speaks of a triad convergence, where trainers or shamans would align the elements, ice from the north, storm from the west, flame from the south, to call the birds into a single, harmonious gathering. The ritual promised not domination, but partnership. The birds revealing secrets of the world's creation, perhaps even granting a wish for balance. Imagine standing at that altar, the air humming with power as Articuno's frost meets Zapdos's spark and Moltres' blaze, forming a vortex of pure energy. Yet this ritual vanished without a trace. Why? Some say it was intentionally erased by those who feared its power. Others point to the Kalos region's lore, where Az's war disrupted ancient magics, scattering the knowledge. What we do know is that attempts to recreate it echo through history with chilling results. In the 90s, during the height of Pokemon's global frenzy, a group of enthusiasts in Japan tried piecing together the chant from leaked Pokédex data. They gathered at a simulated site, a frozen lake under a stormy sky, with controlled fires nearby. Nothing happened at first, but then reports flooded in. Freak accidents, unexplained outages, and a sense of dread that lingered. One participant swore he heard distant cries like the birds mocking the effort. Fast forward to modern times, and the failures only grow more spectacular, hinting at a curse woven into the ritual's fabric. Online forums are rife with stories from AR searchers and raid chasers who've tried summoning proxies in Pokemon Go. Align the shiny forms, sync the weather boosts, Ice Storm for Articuno, Thunder for Zapdos, Heatwave for Moltres, and watch the glitches unfold. Servers crash, devices overheat, and players report vivid nightmares of fractured wings. Remember the infamous 2018 event, where a coordinated global hunt for the birds caused a temporary blackout in Niantic systems? Thousands participated, following a fan-reconstructed ritual timeline. Instead of legends, they got error codes and eerie static on their screens, as if the birds were warning, "Don't meddle." You might dismiss these as coincidences, but consider the pattern. Every failed recreation amplifies the chaos. Wildfires sparked near attempt sites, electrical surges in quiet towns, sudden blizzards in summer. It's as if the Shattered Alliance has a failsafe, a curse that punishes those who seek to mend it without understanding the cost. What was the original sin that broke the triad? Was it human greed reaching too far into legendary affairs? Or something darker, like a rival force, think Mewtwo's creation, or the distortions of ultraspace, that exploited their unity? Diving deeper, let's explore how this theory reshapes our view of the birds individually. Articuno, often portrayed as aloof and serene, carries the weight of isolation most visibly. In the games, its Seafoam Island's home is a labyrinth of melting ice, symbolizing a chill that's lost its purpose without the warming fire of Moltres. Trainers who've battled it describe a sadness in its eyes, a cry that echoes loneliness. Zapdos, the most aggressive of the three, lashes out with storms that seem fueled by frustration. Why the endless rage if not for a betrayed bond? And Moltres, renewing life in its volcano, burns brighter but shorter, as if compensating for the cold void left by Articuno. These traits aren't arbitrary, they're scars from the shatter. In the Pokémon TCG expansions, cards depicting the birds show faint auras linking them, subtle lines of energy that connect their illustrations when laid side by side. Collectors have pored over this, debating if it's intentional foreshadowing. And in the anime's later seasons, during the Sinnoh arc, elemental disturbances that only calm when traces of all three birds' powers intersect. It's a reminder, their fates are one thread in the tapestry of Pokémon mysteries. But why does this matter to you, the explorer charting your own path through the Paldea wilds or the Hisui snows? Because understanding the Triad's interconnectedness changes how you approach legends altogether. No longer are they solo hunts, they're puzzles with missing pieces. If you've ever felt that pull when a storm brews during a fiery sunset, or ice cracks under thunderous skies, that's the Triad whispering. It's calling you to question, can the Alliance ever be restored, or is the curse eternal, a guardian against hubris? As we peel back these layers, the bird's story doesn't end in isolation. It points to greater depths, where oceanic guardians lurk in shadows even more profound. Up next, in Lugia's oceanic abyss, we'll plunge into the abyssal secrets that might hold the key to mending or dooming this fractured world. What horrors and wonders await below the waves? Stick around, you won't want to miss the dive. Now let's expand on those modern recreations, because the failures aren't just anecdotal, they're a goldmine of intrigue. Take the 2022 Pokémon Day celebrations. A viral challenge swept social media. Recreate the Triad ritual using in-game mechanics. Players synchronized their clocks across time zones, evolving Evolines to represent the elements and chanting the decoded phrases from those ancient tablets. The goal? Trigger a mass appearance in Dynamax raids. What happened instead was pandemonium. In Europe, a server lag spike coincided with a real lightning storm that knocked out power for hours. In the US, participants reported their Switch consoles freezing solid, literally frosting over, as if Articuno itself had intervened. And in Asia, where the original attempt traces back, fires broke out in event venues, blamed on faulty wiring, but timed too perfectly to ignore. These incidents fuel the curse theory. Proponents argue the ritual's loss wasn't accidental. It was sealed by the birds themselves, a self-imposed exile to prevent further pain. Evidence mounts from unexpected sources. In the Pokémon Mystery Dungeon series, spin-off games that delve into alternate worlds, the birds appear as a trio only in corrupted timelines, realms where the Alliance shatters anew, leading to apocalyptic events. It's meta-commentary perhaps, warning players that tampering invites doom. And don't get me started on the creepypasta tales that blend fact and fiction, stories of trainers vanishing after botched summons, their Pokegear left behind with static recordings of avian shrieks. Yet amid the warnings, there's hope, or at least tantalizing clues. Data miners in the Scarlet and Violet era uncovered beta dialogue for a cut quest in the Kitakami region, where an elder speaks of the Triad's Lament, a song that could reunite them if sung at the right eclipse. The quest was scrapped, but the audio files linger online, distorted but audible. Listening to it, you feel a chill, a spark, a warmth, the elements stirring. Is this the path forward, or another trap? This shattered alliance theory doesn't just connect the birds, it reframes legendary Pokémon as a network, not islands. Articuno's solitude amplifies Zapdos's fury, which in turn feeds Moltres' desperate renewal. Break one link, and the chain reacts. In competitive battling, savvy players exploit this by theming teams around the triad, stacking weather conditions to mimic their harmony. Stab moves hit harder, setups last longer. It's like the game code remembers their bond. Emotionally, it hits hard. These aren't monsters to capture, they're kin torn asunder. When you catch one in your game, does it feel like victory or theft from a greater whole? The lore urges reflection. What if restoring the alliance requires release, not conquest? As we wrap this exploration, remember the ritual's ghost haunts every storm, every flame, every frost. The bird's triad endures, fractured but fierce, a testament to bonds that time can't fully erase. And as we turn our gaze seaward, to the depths where Lugia's oceanic abyss beckons, prepare for revelations that could shatter or seal this mystery forever. The waves are calling. Will you answer? Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Lugia's oceanic abyss. Deep beneath the waves of the Johto region, where sunlight barely pierces the surface, Lugia reigns as the unchallenged guardian of the oceans. This legendary Pokémon isn't just a myth whispered by sailors, it's a force woven into the very fabric of marine life, protecting the seas from chaos with its immense psychic powers. But what if I told you that recent submarine expeditions have captured something inexplicable down there? Anomalies that challenge everything we thought we knew about the deep blue? Picture yourself strapped into a submersible, descending into the abyss off the coast of Whirl Islands. The pressure builds, the world outside turns to inky blackness, and your lights cut through the void like fragile threads. That's where the first signs appear. Submarine footage from research vessels in the late 1990s, declassified only recently, shows massive silhouettes gliding past at speeds no known sea creature could match. These aren't schools of fish or pods of dolphins. They're ethereal shapes, wings folding and unfolding in ways that defy hydrodynamics. One clip, taken at over 2,000 meters, captures a sudden pulse of light emanating from what looks like an enormous silver-white form. The crew's instruments go haywire, sonar pings echo erratically, and the sub's hull vibrates as if struck by an invisible wave. Experts dismissed it as equipment, malfunctioned back then, but now, with enhanced analysis, those pulses match Lugia's described psychic aura, a ripple that bends water and mind alike. You might wonder, why Lugia? Why here in these turbulent waters? As the sea guardian, Lugia embodies balance. Ancient Johto lore paints it as the diver, the one who dives into the deepest trenches to calm storms and redirect currents gone wild. It's said to have the power to summon or quell tempests with a single cry, a sonic boom that travels for miles underwater. But in our modern world, where satellites track every ripple, evidence is mounting that Lugia isn't dormant. Take the footage from a 2015 Japanese oceanographic survey near the Seafoam Islands. The submersible's camera picks up bioluminescent flares dancing in patterns too precise to be natural. Not random sparks from jellyfish, but synchronized waves like signals. And at the center, a fleeting glimpse of eyes, glowing, intelligent, watchful. The divers reported headaches afterward, a psychic pressure that left them disoriented for hours. Could this be Lugia patrolling its domain, warding off intruders with subtle warnings? Let's dive deeper into what this guardianship really means. Lugia doesn't just protect the seas from human folly, It safeguards the delicate web of life below. Its psychic waves, those invisible barriers of energy, help guide migrations and maintain harmony. But something's disrupting that balance. Over the past decade, whale strandings have spiked along the eastern coasts of Johto and Kanto. Hundreds of humpbacks and sperm whales washing up on beaches, disoriented and dying. Scientists blame sonar from shipping routes or ocean noise pollution, and they're not entirely wrong. But dig into the data and a pattern emerges that no one's fully explained. These strandings cluster around areas of unusual seismic activity. Not earthquakes, but low-frequency rumbles emanating from underwater caves. Here's where it gets chilling. Researchers from the Pokémon Ecological Society cross-reference those sites with Lugia's known habitats. The correlation is uncanny. In 2022, a beached pod off Olivine City showed signs of extreme neural stress, their brains fried by what autopsies revealed as electromagnetic interference. Not from human tech, but something organic, pulsing. What if Lugia's psychic waves meant to protect are clashing with the very creatures they're supposed to shield? The revelation hits hard. Those strandings aren't random tragedies. They're fallout from Lugia's desperate efforts to disrupt migrations threatened by outsiders. As industrial noise and pollution encroach, Lugia's responses grow erratic, its waves scattering whale pods like leaves in a gale. You can almost hear the tragedy in it, a guardian fighting to save its home, but inadvertently harming the innocents it vows to protect. Think about the implications. If Lugia is actively intervening, why now? The answer lies in the growing shadows creeping into its territory. Corporate deep-sea mining operations have exploded in the last 5 years, targeting rare minerals in the ocean floor near Whirl Islands. Companies like Hydrotech International deploy massive dredgers that scar the seabed, releasing sediments that cloud waters for miles. Their submersibles equipped with high-powered lights and drilling rigs probe depths once left untouched. One leaked report from 2023 details a near collision, a mining sub brushing against what operators described as a living wall of water, deflected by an unseen force. Instruments recorded a spike in psychic energy readings off the charts, followed by the sudden shutdown of their navigation systems. The crew surfaced babbling about visions, flashes of a winged behemoth rising from the depths. This complication isn't abstract, it's a ticking clock. As these corporations push further, Lugia's reactions intensify. Submarine footage from a rogue environmentalist dive last year shows it clearest. The video, grainy but undeniable, captures the beast in partial view. A colossal form, wings spanning wider than a blue whale, emitting pulses that warp the water around it. Schools of fish scatter in panic, and in the distance, a mining rig's lights flicker out one by one. The diver's audio picks up a low, resonant call, not a roar, but a psychic lament that rattles the hull. Experts believe this is Lugia marking its boundaries, using its waves to create barriers that confuse and repel. But for whales whose songs rely on precise echolocation, these disruptions are deadly. A single misplaced pulse, and an entire migration veers off course, straight into shallow reefs or beaches. You have to feel the urgency here. We're not talking about distant legends anymore. This is happening now in our oceans. Imagine the psychic toll on Lugia itself, constantly broadcasting to maintain control as its sanctuary shrinks. Folklore from Johto fishermen speaks of the silver storm, times when seas turn mirror calm before erupting in fury. Lugia's way of resetting the balance. Modern parallels? Unexplained calm zones amid typhoons, where ships pass unscathed while storms rage nearby. One captain's log from 2018 recounts entering such a zone, Compasses spun wildly, and the crew felt an overwhelming sense of peace, almost hypnotic. They emerged with sketches of a guardian silhouette burned into their minds. But let's ground this in science, because the anomalies aren't just spooky stories. Oceanographers have mapped psychic-like fields using magnetometers, detecting anomalies that align with Lugia's sightings. In one study published in the Journal of Marine Mythobiology, researchers used AI to analyze decades of submarine data. The result? Over 70% of unexplained deep-sea events trace back to Lugia's domain, including sudden temperature drops and oxygen blooms that sustain coral reefs under stress. It's as if Lugia is the ocean's heartbeat, pumping life through the currents. Yet with mining ops now drilling within kilometers of its lair, that heartbeat is faltering. A 2024 whistleblower video from a hydrotech engineer shows core samples laced with unknown energy residues, psychic echoes perhaps left as warnings. What does this mean for us? If Lugia's waves are the culprit behind the strandings, then ignoring them invites disaster. Conservationists argue for no-go zones around Whirl Islands, but corporations lobby hard, promising jobs and green tech. The tension builds like a storm on the horizon. Remember the 2019 incident off Cianwood City? A mining vessel vanished for 48 hours, reappearing adrift with its crew in a trance-like state. They spoke of dreams where a voice urged them to leave, to respect the depths. Officially, it was a malfunction. Unofficially, whispers of Lugia's intervention spread through maritime circles. As we peel back these layers, the portrait of Lugia sharpens. Not a monster, but a sentinel pushed to its limits. Its oceanic abyss isn't just a home, it's a battleground where ancient power meets modern greed. The submarine anomalies, the disrupted migrations, the encroaching threats, they all point to a guardian crying out for balance. And if we don't listen, the waves could rise against us all. But hold on, because the mysteries don't end in the depths. Up next, we ascend to the skies with Ho-Oh's rainbow prophecy, where feathers of fire and visions of rebirth promise secrets that could change how the legends forever. What hidden omens await in those vibrant arcs? You won't want to miss it. Ho-Oh's rainbow prophecy. In the heart of Johto's ancient legends, Ho-Oh isn't just a majestic phoenix of the skies, it's the guardian of thresholds between worlds. What if I told you that those shimmering rainbow bridges it creates aren't mere spectacles of colour, but actual doorways to dimensions beyond our own? You've probably seen depictions of Ho-Oh soaring high, trailing rainbows in its wake, but dig deeper into the lore, and you'll uncover whispers of travellers who stepped through those arcs and never returned the same, or at all. Let's start with the basics of what we know from the Pokémon canon. Ho-Oh, the legendary fire and flying type, resides atop the bell tower, a place steeped in spiritual significance. Its rainbows formed after storms, or in moments of profound harmony, have always symbolized hope and rebirth. But ancient Jotun texts, passed down through oral traditions and etched into the ruins around Ecruteak City, suggest something far more profound. These rainbows aren't random. They're engineered by Ho-Oh's power, woven from pure psychic energy and elemental fire. Imagine the science behind it. If Pokémon had a physics textbook, this would be the chapter on interdimensional rifts disguised as weather phenomena. Scenario from the games. You're a trainer in gold or silver versions, climbing the tin tower or exploring the burned tower, and suddenly a rainbow appears, bridging the gap between earthly realms. In the anime, we've seen Ho-Oh's appearances tied to pivotal moments, like Ash's first encounter, where the rainbow feels almost tangible, a bridge to something greater. But lore enthusiasts point to older sources, like the Johto region's mythology books, which describe these bridges as sacred arcs. They're not just visual, they're portals. Step onto one, and you might find yourself in a pocket dimension, a realm where time flows differently, or where Pokémon from other regions or even other universes coexist. Why do I say portals? Because Ho-Oh's role as a purifier and resurrector implies control over life cycles, including transitions between existences. In Pokémon Crystal, Ho-Oh revives the three beasts, showing its mastery over death and renewal. Extending that, the rainbows could be conduits for souls or energies to pass through. Fans have theorized for years that these bridges connect to the Distortion world, or even parallel Pokémon worlds, like those hinted at in Mystery Dungeon games. Remember the Ultra Beasts in Sun and Moon? Ho-Oh's rainbows might prefigure such cross-dimensional travel, acting as stable wormholes stabilized by its immense power. But here's where it gets really intriguing. What happens if you try to force your way through without Ho-Oh's blessing? That's the dark underbelly of this prophecy. Near Ecruteak City, a place where the burned tower stands as a scar from ancient fire, there have been reports, both in-game and in expanded lore, of disappearances that tie directly to botched attempts at summoning Ho-Oh. You see, the rainbow bridges don't appear on a whim. They're invitations. Local shamans and trainers have long performed rituals at the dance theatre or the bell tower to call upon Ho-Oh, hoping to glimpse or traverse those portals for enlightenment or power. Take the case of the Tin Tower's guardians. Legend says that only the pure of heart can ascend without peril. But what if someone impure, driven by greed, tries anyway? Accounts from Pokémon Adventures manga describe trainers vanishing mid-ritual, pulled into the rainbow's glow, only to be spat out elsewhere. Or not at all. Ecruteak's fog-shrouded streets hide stories of wanderers who, in the 90s anime era, chased rumoured rainbow sightings after thunderstorms. One tale stands out. A group of researchers, in the late 90s, inspired by the game's release, set up camp near the burned tower. They documented a massive rainbow arching from the ruins skyward. Eager to test the portal theory, one stepped forward during a mock summoning chant. Witnesses said the rainbow pulsed, enveloping him in light. He was gone. Searches turned up nothing. No body, no trace. Just echoes of failed magic. This isn't isolated. Johto's history is riddled with such incidents. The burned tower's fire, which killed countless Pokémon and led to Ho-Oh's resurrection of Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, is said to have weakened the fabric between dimensions. Rainbows there form more frequently, but unstably. Failed summonings, rituals where the summoner lacks the harmony Ho-Oh demands, create rifts that snag people instead of guiding them. It's like dialing a wrong number on a cosmic phone. You get connected, but to the wrong place. Some theorize these victims end up in limbo realms, shadowy echoes of the Pokémon world where time loops eternally, reliving their mistakes. You might be wondering, how do we know these aren't just urban legends? Well, consider the in-game mechanics. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, interacting with certain statues or performing the Clear Bell ritual summons Ho-Oh only under specific conditions. Rain, purity of intent. Mess it up and nothing happens. But extrapolate to real-world fan experiences. Conventions and online forums buzz with stories of AR-based hunts near Ecruteak-inspired locations, where players report glitches or vanishings in their games coinciding with real-life rainbow sightings. It's as if the lore bleeds into reality. Now let's pull back and examine the prophecy itself. Ho-Oh's rainbow prophecy, as it's called in deeper Jotun lore, foretells a time when the bridges will multiply, signalling the Pokémon world's end times. It's not all doom, it's a cycle. The prophecy, scribed on ancient scrolls in the ruins of Alph, speaks of Ho-Oh returning en masse through a grand rainbow convergence. This isn't a one-off appearance like in the movies, it's a herald. When the bridges form without summonings, spanning cities like Ecruteak to the seas, it means balance is tipping. The world faces purification or destruction, depending on humanity's harmony with Pokémon. Think about it. In a world plagued by Team Rocket's ambitions or modern trainer exploitation, Ho-Oh's return via these portals could mean judgment. The disappearances, their warnings, failed crossings that cull the unworthy. But for the faithful, the bridges offer salvation, escape to a renewed dimension. Anime episodes like For Ho-Oh the Bells Toll hint at this, with Larry's quest mirroring the prophecy's seeker archetype. He rings the bell, the rainbow appears, but only after proving his worth. Fail, and you're lost. Delving deeper, the prophecy ties into Johto's yin-yang philosophy. Ho-Oh represents yang, light, fire, creation, while its bridges connect to Lugia's yin depths. The end times come when these forces unbalance, and rainbows become rifts tearing reality. Imagine storms raging across regions, rainbows cracking like lightning, pulling in cities whole. Disappearances escalate, from lone trainers to entire villages near Ecruteak. It's the ultimate test. Will you summon successfully, or become a casualty? To understand the mechanics, consider Ho-Oh's abilities. Sacred Fire, its signature move, purifies as it burns, much like the bridges cleanse before transporting. In competitive play, Ho-Oh's Regenerator trait lets it heal upon switching out, symbolizing rebirth through portals. Lore-wise, this extends to dimensional travel. Enter a bridge, face trial by fire, emerge transformed, or not at all. Failed summonings trigger backlash. The rainbow collapses, dragging the offender into void spaces. Ecruteak's history supports this. Post-burn tower, sightings spiked, and so did vanishings. Elders blame overzealous summoners, disrupting Ho-Oh's rest. You've got to feel the weight of this. What if you're that trainer, standing at the tower's base, bell in hand, rainbow forming? The air hums with energy, colours swirling like living paint. Do you step forward, heart racing, betting on purity, or do you heed the warnings of those lost before you? The prophecy doesn't sugarcoat it. Ho-Oh's return isn't gentle, it's cataclysmic, a rainbow apocalypse where portals flood the skies, end times unfolding in bursts of colour and flame. But there's hope woven in. The prophecy promises that a chosen one, a trainer of true bond, will stabilise the bridges, averting total collapse. This figure, often linked to the player in games, rings the bells across Johto, harmonising dimensions. Disappearances cease, rainbows become beacons of unity. Yet until then, Ecruteak remains a hotspot. Hikers report fresh cases. A young explorer in 2020's fan cons, chasing a post-rain arc near a replica tower, vanished during a live stream. The feed cut to static, rainbow fading. Coincidence? Or another failed summoning? Expanding on the end times angle, the prophecy details signs. First, isolated bridges near sacred sites, then disappearances as harbingers. Finally, the grand return. Ho-Oh descending through a canopy of rainbows, purging corruption. It's apocalyptic poetry, drawing from real-world myths like Norse rainbows or Japanese phoenix lore. In Pokémon terms, it could tie to the creation trio's battles, where dimensions clash. Ho-Oh's role? To bridge them back, or let them shatter. You can see why this captivates. It's not just legend, it's a cautionary tale for trainers everywhere. Approach Ho-Oh's power with respect, or risk the void. The rainbows dazzle, but they demand. And as we unravel more, the connections grow clearer. To beasts awakened in fire, guardians of the towers below. Speaking of which, the flames that birthed those legendary runners still echo in the tower's shadows. Up next, we'll dive into the tower duo, Raikou and Entei, where thunder roars and volcanoes stir, revealing secrets that might just explain why Ho-Oh's bridges form where they do. You won't want to miss how their restless spirits tie into this dimensional web. What if their chases are pursuits through those very portals? The tower duo, Raikou and Entei. In the shadowed aftermath of the burned tower's collapse in Ecruteak City, two legendary beasts emerged from the ashes, forever altering the legends of Johto. Raikou, the thunderclap incarnate, and Entei, the firestorm unleashed, weren't just Pokémon. They were forces of nature reborn, racing across the land with a fury that still echoes in the tales of those who witnessed them. Picture yourself standing on the outskirts of that fateful night, the air thick with smoke and the cries of the fallen. The tower, once a beacon of ancient worship, had crumbled under mysterious flames, trapping three sacred beasts within. But while one lingered in the ruins, Raikou and Entei broke free, their roars shaking the very earth. Eyewitnesses from that era, old trainers now whispering their stories in dimly lit Pokémon centers, describe Raikou first, a sleek, electric blue saber-tooth with eyes like crackling lightning. It didn't flee, it pursued. With a speed that blurred the line between storm and shadow, Raikou charged through the storm-swept plains of Johto, leaving trails of ionized air that sparked and popped for days. One such pursuit became legend in the Route 36 grasslands. A group of young explorers, drawn by rumours of the tower's fall, spotted Raikou's silhouette against the horizon. They thought they could track it, maybe even capture a glimpse for glory. But as thunder rolled in from nowhere, Raikou turned on them, not with malice, but with an electric chase that lit up the night. Bolts of thunder arced from its mane, scorching the earth in playful yet terrifying zigzags, forcing the group to dive into the tall grass as the beast circled them like a living tempest. It wasn't hunting us, one survivor later told researchers from the Pokémon League. It was testing the winds, seeing if we'd run with the storm or against it. By dawn, Raikou was gone, but the field smouldered with charred patterns that locals swore formed the shape of ancient runes, symbols of speed and unyielding pursuit. You have to wonder, what drives a creature like that? Raikou's thunderous pursuits weren't random. They seemed purposeful, as if it sought something lost in the chaos of the tower's destruction. Reports flooded in from across the region. In the foggy depths of Dark Cave, where echoes amplify every sound, trainers heard the distant rumble of hooves and saw flashes of blue light darting between stalactites. One veteran hiker, lost for hours in those tunnels, claimed Raikou appeared like a guardian spectre, its electric aura illuminating a hidden path to safety. But pursue it? Impossible. It would vanish in a crackle of static, leaving behind a faint ozone scent that lingered on your clothes for weeks. These chases built Raikou's myth as the untamed storm, a Pokémon that embodied the raw, exhilarating terror of nature's fury. Then there's Entei, the counterpart in flame, whose volcanic rampages painted Johto's landscapes in shades of molten red. If Raikou was the sky's wrath, Entei was the earth's boiling rage, bursting from the burned tower with a bellow that cracked stone and ignited dry brush for miles. Its coat, a cascade of fiery fur, billowed like lava flows, and its eyes burned with the intensity of an active volcano. Post-tower, Entei didn't slink away. It erupted across the land, carving paths of scorched earth that forced entire villages to relocate. Take the infamous rampage through the Cianwood city shores. Fishermen there still speak of the night when the sea itself seemed to boil. Entei thundered down from the cliffs, its paws igniting the sandy beaches into rivers of flame. Waves crashed against barriers of fire, sending steam hissing into the sky like a dragon's breath. A local lighthouse keeper, braving the inferno to save his Pokémon, watched as Entei leapt from rock to rock, not destroying for destruction's sake, but as if purging some deep-seated impurity from the land. It roared like the mountain god's awakening, he recounted in a taped interview preserved by the Johto Historical Society. The heat was so intense, it melted the iron bell on my lighthouse, but it spared the lighthouse itself, almost like it was marking territory, warning us to respect the fire within. These rampages escalated quickly after the tower's fall. In the volcanic fringes near Route 27, Entei was sighted igniting geysers that hadn't erupted in centuries, sending plumes of ash high enough to blot out the sun. Trainers who tried to approach met walls of flame that danced just out of reach, forcing retreats amid coughing fits from the sulphurous smoke. One ambitious group from the Elite Four's scouting team even deployed water-type Pokémon to quell a blaze near Olivine City, only for Entei to counter with a volcanic surge that turned their efforts into a steamy standoff. The beast didn't attack directly, it rampaged onward, leaving behind fertile ash that strangely caused wildflowers to bloom unnaturally fast the next season. Was it chaos or creation? Entei's path suggested the latter, a fiery renewal born from the ashes of loss. But here's where the stories deepen, pulling you into the heart of Johto's darkest mysteries. As the pursuits and rampages continued, survivors from the burned tower began sharing tales that chilled even the most skeptical researchers. These weren't just eyewitness accounts of beasts on the run. They were whispers of origins far more profound. You see, the tower wasn't merely a structure. It was a sacred site, tied to the Johtoan belief in the cycle of souls. Legends spoke of 3 guardians, the beasts, awakened to protect the balance. Yet in the fire's wake, something unprecedented happened. Human lives intertwined with the divine. One of the most compelling survivor accounts comes from an elderly woman who was a child during the incident, now residing in the quiet outskirts of Ikrutake. In hushed tones, during a rare interview with Pokémon mythologist Professor Oak's associates, she revealed what she saw in the flames. As the tower fell, I glimpsed figures, not just Pokémon, but people, 3 of them, caught in the blaze. A swift runner, a fierce protector, and a gentle watcher. Their essences swirled into the smoke, and from it, the beasts rose. Her words align with fragmented journals from other survivors. A young trainer who perished in the collapse, known for his lightning-fast dashes across the routes, and a blacksmith whose forge rivaled volcanoes, both said to have been reborn as Raikou and Entei. These reincarnation tales aren't folklore, they're pieced from consistent testimonies. Another account, from a monk who tended the nearby bell tower, describes overhearing the spirits during the fire's roar. Voices cried out, not in pain but in resolve. "We will run eternal," one said, and thunder answered. "We will burn bright," another vowed, and flames leapt higher. Researchers cross-reference this with ancient scrolls from the ruins of Alph, which depict human souls merging with elemental forces to guard against calamity. Could Raikou's pursuits be the echo of that runner's unyielding spirit, forever chasing horizons to prevent another disaster? And Entei's rampages, a blacksmith's passion, forging the land anew from destruction? You might dismiss it as grief-fueled imagination, but the evidence mounts. Pokémon behaviourists have noted anomalies. Raikou occasionally pauses near old running trails, as if remembering a human stride, while Entei's flames never harm the innocent, only the overgrown or corrupted. In one verified incident near Victory Road, a trainer's lost child was found unharmed beside a cooling ember from Entei's path. the beast standing sentinel like a reborn guardian. These survivor tales suggest the beasts aren't mere animals, they're reincarnated souls, human hearts fueling legendary power. It changes how you view them, from distant myths to tragic heroes, bound by fire and fate. This revelation only amplified their allure, turning isolated sightings into an obsession for trainers across Johto and beyond. Raiku's elusive dashes through thunderstorms made it the ultimate prize for speed enthusiasts, with entire expeditions forming to predict its paths using weather patterns. You'd hear of groups staking out high peaks, radars humming, only for a single bolt to signal its arrival, and then poof, gone in a blur. Entei's volcanic trails became treasure hunts for fire specialists who followed ash deposits like breadcrumbs, braving lava flows for a chance encounter, but capture elusive as smoke. One famous chase in the Whirl Islands saw a team of aces pursue Entei across raging seas, their ships singed but spirits unbroken, only for the beast to dive into the depths, leaving them with stories but no Pokeball. The escalation was relentless. As word spread, the chases grew larger, more desperate. International trainers flocked to Johto, turning quiet routes into frenzied hunts. Raikou sightings spiked during monsoons, drawing crowds that clogged the olivine ports, while Entei's rampages near Mount Silver prompted evacuations that doubled as stakeouts. Yet for all the pursuit, the duo remained phantoms, appearing to inspire, to challenge, but never to be tamed. Their human souls, if the tales hold, perhaps rebel against confinement, preferring the wild freedom of thunder and flame. What does this mean for you, wandering trainer or curious listener? It means the next time you feel the air charge with electricity or see embers glow on a distant hill, you're not just witnessing Pokémon, you're brushing against echoes of humanity's resilience. Raikou and Entei aren't destroyers. They're reminders that from loss, legends rise, pursuing eternity. And speaking of pursuits that purify and protect, you won't want to miss what comes next with Suicune's Pure Pursuit, where one beast's quest for cleansing waters reveals secrets that could wash away the darkest stains of Johto's past. Suicune's Pure Pursuit. Suicune, the Northwind Pokémon, isn't just a fleeting legend in the Johto region. It's a force of nature that has been whispered about for centuries as the ultimate guardian of pure waters. Did you know that in ancient texts from the Pokémon world, Suicune is said to roam endlessly, purifying tainted rivers with a single, graceful stride, turning poison into life-giving streams? That's the core of its myth, and what makes it so captivating is how it mirrors real-world struggles we've all heard about, those desperate battles to save our own polluted waterways. Let's start at the beginning of this pursuit. In the Pokémon lore, Suicune emerged from the ashes of a great fire that ravaged the burned tower in Ecruteak City. Alongside its siblings, Raikou and Entei, it was reborn as a symbol of renewal, but Suicune took on a unique role, the Purifier. Legends describe it as a sleek blue beast with a crystalline mane that shimmers like fresh snow, galloping across landscapes to seek out corruption in the waters. One tale from the elders of Johto speaks of a village on the brink of disaster, its river choked with sludge from upstream factories. The people prayed for salvation, and that night, under a full moon, Suicune appeared. With a howl that echoed like rushing rapids, it charged into the current, its body glowing with another worldly light. By dawn, the water ran clear again, fish leaping joyfully, and the villagers swore they could taste the purity in every sip. You can almost feel the relief in that story, can't you? It's not just fantasy. It's a reminder of what we lose when we let greed foul our natural world. But here's where Suicune's legend hits closer to home. It draws direct inspiration from real environmental crises. Think about the rivers in our world that have been ravaged by industrial waste, much like the fictional one Suicune saves. Take the Cuyahoga River in Ohio, for instance. Back in the 1960s, it was so polluted with oil and chemicals that it literally caught fire multiple times. Factories dumped everything imaginable into it, turning a once vibrant waterway into a toxic sludge pit. People watched in horror as the flames shot up 50 feet high, and it wasn't until public outcry and cleanup efforts kicked in that things changed. Organisations like the Environmental Protection Agency stepped up, and by the 1980s, the river started to heal. Fish returned, and today you can kayak along it without fear. Suicune's pursuit feels like an echo of that fight, doesn't it? In Johto's lore, the Pokémon embodies the hope that one determined force can turn the tide, literally, against human negligence. And it's not just the Cuyahoga. Look at the Rhine River in Europe, one of the most industrialised waterways on the planet. In the 1980s, a massive chemical spill from a factory in Switzerland killed everything in its path for hundreds of miles. Salmon vanished, birds dropped from the sky, and the water turned to sickly foam. But international coalitions formed, treaties were signed, and over decades, billions were poured into restoration. Now, the Rhine teems with life again, a testament to what collective action can achieve. Suicune's legend taps into these stories, portraying a mythical enforcer who doesn't wait for committees or laws. It races ahead, sensing the imbalance from afar, drawn by the cries of the earth itself. Imagine you're standing by a polluted stream, the stench hitting you first, the murky water reflecting your disappointment. Then a chill wind picks up, and you sense it. Suicune is near. Judging the despoilers who caused this mess, that brings us to some chilling encounters that reveal Suicune's role as a judge. Trainers and locals in Johto have shared accounts that blur the line between myth and reality. Stories passed down like family secrets. One such tale comes from a fisherman in the outskirts of Violet City, back in the early 2000s. He told researchers about a night when his boat was anchored on a river fouled by nearby paper mills. The water was black, lifeless, and he was about to give up on his livelihood when a spectral figure emerged from the mist. Suicune, with eyes like polished sapphires, locked gazes with him. But it wasn't him it judged. It was the mill owners upstream, whose waste had poisoned the flow. The fisherman watched as Suicune unleashed a pulse of aurora-like energy, not just cleaning the water but sending a warning shiver through the air. The next day, the mills shut down abruptly. The owners claimed eerie visions of a pursuing beast, forcing them to install filtration systems overnight. Coincidence? Or Suicune's unyielding pursuit at work? You have to wonder what it would feel like to witness that firsthand. The raw power of nature demanding accountability. These encounters aren't isolated. Another report from the late 1990s involves a group of hikers near the Tin Tower. They stumbled upon a construction site illegally dumping concrete runoff into a sacred spring, the kind of spot tied to ancient Pokémon rituals. As they confronted the workers, a sudden gale swept through, and there it was, Suicune bounding across the treetops, its mane trailing rainbows even in the overcast. Spucky sky, the despoilers froze, tools dropping from their hands as if an invisible force pinned them in place. The hikers later said the air hummed with judgment, like the Pokémon was weighing their souls against the harm they'd done. By morning, the site was abandoned, the spring bubbling clear once more. Authorities investigated, finding no evidence of sabotage, just unexplained equipment failures and workers too terrified to return. Stories like these paint Suicune not as a gentle saviour, but as a relentless prosecutor, appearing only when the balance tips too far. It's thrilling and terrifying, right? Makes you think twice about that plastic bottle you might toss by the water's edge. Diving deeper, Suicune's purification isn't random, it's tied to its very essence. In the Pokémon games, its ability to create crystal clear water from thin air stems from the Aurora Veil, a move that shields and renews. But folklore expands on this, suggesting Suicune draws power from the land's own vitality, absorbing toxins and expelling them as harmless mist. Tie that to real cleanups, and you see parallels everywhere. Consider the efforts in India's Ganges River, where pollution from sewage and industry has threatened millions who rely on it for everything, from drinking to rituals. Initiatives like the Namami Gang program have built sewage treatment plants and banned certain effluents, reviving stretches of the river that were dead zones. Suicune's legend could be Pokémon's way of cheering on these heroes, personifying the wind of change that sweeps away the filth. What if, in some hidden corner of Johto, Suicune is still out there, inspiring us through these myths? Now hold on, because there's a twist to this tale that elevates Suicune's pursuit from legend to something almost quest-like. Deep in the lore, whispered among the most secretive shrine keepers, lies the story of the Crystal of Endless Flow, a hidden artifact said to amplify Suicune's powers indefinitely. Unlike temporary boosts from items in the games, this crystal is no ordinary gem. Legends claim it's a shard from the original Tower Fire, infused with the life force of the land itself, capable of turning Suicune into an unstoppable force against pollution. With it, the Pokémon wouldn't just purify one river, it could cleanse entire regions, creating perpetual cycles of renewal. But it's hidden, guarded by trials that test the Seeker's heart. Some say it's buried beneath the Whirl Islands, where turbulent waters hide its glow, or concealed in the Ilex Forest's ancient roots. The twist, only those pure of intent can even sense it. Polluters are repelled, their greed acting like a curse. Imagine the hunt. You trek through storm-lashed cliffs, solving riddles etched in stone, all while evading Suicune's watchful gaze. If you found it, what then? Would you wield it, or leave it for the Guardian? This artifact adds layers of mystery, making Suicune's pursuit feel like an ongoing epic, one we might join if we're worthy. These stories of judgment keep coming, each one a microdrama of consequence. Take the account from a former executive in Goldenrod City, shared anonymously in a Pokémon fan forum years ago. He admitted to overseeing a chemical plant that skirted regulations, dumping dyes into the river to cut costs. Profits soared, but so did the fish kills. One stormy evening, as he drove home along the riverbank, his car stalled inexplicably. Out of the rain emerged Suicune, not charging but circling slowly, its presence a silent indictment. He felt it in his bones, the weight of every barrel of waste, every ignored warning. Paralyzed, he watched as the Pokémon dipped its head to the water, and in that moment, visions flooded his mind. Poisoned ecosystems, suffering wildlife, his own role in the destruction. He quit the next day, became an environmental advocate, and the plant was cleaned up under new management. Was it guilt or Suicune's supernatural nudge? Encounters like his show the Pokémon's judgment isn't always destructive. It's transformative, forcing despoilers to confront the ripple effects of their actions. You can't help but feel a chill. What if Suicune turned its gaze on us all? Expanding on this, Suicune's legend has influenced real-world activism in surprising ways. Pokémon events in Japan have partnered with clean-up drives along the Tone River, where industrial runoff has long been a problem. Fans dress as the legendary beasts, leading volunteer groups to pick up trash and plant riverbank vegetation. It's like the myth coming alive, motivating kids and adults are like to protect their local waters. And in the US, conservation groups have used Suicune imagery in campaigns for the Mississippi River, drawing parallels to its purifying sprint. These ties make the legend more than escapism. It's a call to action, urging you to look at your own backyard. Have you ever joined a river cleanup? If not, maybe Suicune's story will push you to start. But let's not gloss over the darker side. Not all encounters end in redemption. There's a hushed tale from the coasts near Keyonwood City, where illegal fishing operations were over-harvesting and polluting with nets and fuel spills. A crew out at dusk reported Suicune manifesting as a massive wave, crashing their boats not to destroy, but to scatter them. One survivor spoke of the Pokemon's eyes piercing the foam, delivering a verdict of exile. The operations folded, the waters recovered, but the men were haunted. Some saying they still hear the wind's accusation on quiet nights. Suicune's judgment is swift and final for the unrepentant. A reminder that nature doesn't forgive easily. It makes you pause. In a world of escalating climate threats, is this the guardian we need? As we wrap up this dive into Suicune's pure pursuit, consider how it all interconnects. The legends, the real cleanups, the artifacts' allure, and those fateful encounters. It's a narrative of hope, wrapped in warning, showing that purity can be reclaimed, but only if we heed the signs. You've journeyed with me through these waters, feeling the rush of the chase and the sting of accountability. But what happens when time itself gets tangled in the mysteries? Up next in Chapter 11, Celebi's Time. Webs will unravel how this forest guardian spins threads across eras, trapping secrets that could rewrite history. Stick around, because the revelations there will leave you questioning every moment you've ever lived. Celebi's Time. Web's Celebi isn't merely a Pokemon, it's a temporal enigma, a being said to slip through the cracks of time itself, leaving behind echoes that challenge everything we know about the Pokemon world. In the heart of Johto's Ilex Forest, where the trees whisper secrets older than the regions themselves, Celebi's presence has sparked endless debates among trainers and researchers alike. You've probably encountered it in the games, that fleeting green sprite darting through the underbrush. But what if I told you its abilities go far beyond a simple event trigger? Let's dive right into the intricate web of Celebi's time travel powers and the mind-bending paradoxes they've woven into Ilex Forest. Picture yourself wandering those dense woods at dusk, the air heavy with the scent of moss and mystery. Ilex Forest isn't just a backdrop for catching bugs or navigating far-fetched quests. It's a nexus point for temporal disturbances, all tied to Celebi. According to the lore in Pokemon Gold and Silver, Celebi is the guardian of the forest, a psychic and grass-type myth that can traverse time at will. But how does it do that? Developers at Game Freak hinted at this through subtle mechanics. When you revive Celebi at the Ilex Forest Shrine using the GS Ball, it doesn't just appear, it phases in from another era, carrying with it faint distortions in the game's environment. The music shifts, the colours desaturate slightly, and for a split second, you might notice Pokemon behaving erratically, as if they're reacting to events that haven't happened yet. This isn't random flavor text, it's a deliberate nod to Celebi's core ability, time manipulation. In the anime, we've seen it transport Ash and his friends to future timelines, altering outcomes with a single burst of energy. But in the games, it's more restrained, almost teasing. Activate the event, and Celebi leads you on a chase through the forest, warping space to evade capture. Why the evasion? Because catching Celebi isn't about conquest, it's about intersecting with a timeline that's not entirely yours. Trainers who succeed report glitches, rare, undocumented ones, where the forest map briefly overlays with elements from Heart Gold and and Soul Silver remakes, like altered tree patterns or misplaced items. Is this Celebi pulling you into a parallel branch of time, or just clever coding? Either way, it forces you to question, what if every encounter with a legendary isn't linear, but a loop you're already trapped in? Now let's talk paradoxes, those delicious twists that make Celebi's lore so addictive. Ilex Forest is riddled with them, starting with the shrine itself. Built centuries ago, or was it millennia? The structure predates human settlement in Johto, yet ancient texts describe it as a time altar where Celebi binds the forest's cycles. Enter a paradox. If Celebi protects the forest from deforestation and decay, why do game files show unused dialogue from NPCs warning of eternal autumns that never came to pass? In Pokémon Crystal, the game's enhanced Celebi event involves travelling back to prevent a poacher from harming the forest. But here's the kicker. What if that poacher was you in a previous playthrough? Speedrunners have documented instances where reloading a save after the event causes the forest to regenerate differently, with trees that weren't there before and Pokémon spawns that defy the randomizer. It's as if Celebi rewrote the timeline to account for your interference, creating a bootstrap paradox where the event causes itself. You feel that chill yet? That's the paradox sinking in. Celebi doesn't just travel time, it enforces it, stitching anomalies back into place. Take the case of the Lost Week in Ilex Forest, a fan-discovered oddity from data mining gold and silver ROMs. During development, there was apparently a full week-long event cycle planned for Celebi, involving daily interactions that would culminate in a forest-wide time shift. Players would witness seasons changing overnight, with Celebi appearing each day to mend rips in the fabric. But it was cut, or was it erased? Paradoxically, traces remain in the code, flag variables that trigger phantom events, like a hidden Celebi sprite that only loads if you enter the forest on specific internal clock dates. If you manipulate the game's clock just right, you can force these remnants to surface, causing the screen to flicker with overlaid images of barren trees reclaiming lush foliage. It's Celebi at work, retroactively preventing a timeline where the forest falls. But delving deeper into these paradoxes reveals something even more unsettling. Ilex Forest isn't static. It's a living paradox engine, fueled by Celebi's interventions. Remember the far-fetched side quest? You help a lost Pokémon find its way, but what if that's a micro-paradox? In the lore, far-fetched are rare because of overhunting, yet Celebi's shrine is nearby, suggesting the Guardian selectively revives timelines where balance is restored. Trainers who've glitched their way into unused areas report hearing echoes, faint cries of Pokémon from extinct eras, pulled forward by Celebi's webs. One anecdote from a long-time player sticks out. During a Nuzlocke run, they accidentally triggered the Celebi event early, only for their team to experience time skips, where battles resolved with HP restored as if they'd never happened. Was Celebi undoing their losses or warning them of a doomed path? These paradoxes aren't errors. They're invitations to rethink causality in the Pokémon universe. As we untangle these threads, a revelation emerges from the game's very code, one that hints at events so profound they might have been deliberately erased. Deep within the hexadecimal guts of Pokémon Crystal's ROM, data miners uncovered chronological anomalies, strings of code that reference timelines predating the game's release. These aren't bugs. They're fossils of cut content, time-stamped with dates that don't align with development logs. For instance, there's a subroutine labelled TimeWeb01, which appears to simulate branching paths based on player choices in Ilex Forest. If you befriend Celebi instead of catching it, the code branches to an erased event where the forest expands, swallowing Azalea Town in a temporal flood. But why erased? The anomalies suggest Game Freak scrubbed it to avoid spoilers for future games, or perhaps to hide a meta layer. Celebi as a meta guardian, preventing players from accessing unwritten lore. These code quirks aren't isolated. Cross-reference them with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and you find mirrored anomalies, event IDs that activate only after 9 high 99 steps in the forest, revealing dialogue about forgotten guardians who once allied with Celebi against a great rift. The timestamps, they point to 1999, the year Crystal launched, but embedded within are references to 2000, as if the code anticipated Y2K glitches in Pokemon's internal clock. Imagine the implications. Erased events where Celebi averts a digital apocalypse. Paradoxes where the game's own timeline fractures. Data enthusiasts have even reverse-engineered a patch that restores fragments, letting you witness a ghostly Celebi network. Webs of light connecting shrine points across Johto. When activated, it warps your save file's date forward, unlocking items from future eras like Sinnoh berries in a Gen 2 game. This revelation isn't just trivia, it's proof that Celebi's influence permeates the code itself, hinting at layers of reality we were never meant to peel back. Yet for all its protective nature, Celebi's time webs come with a dark complication: time loops that trap the unwary in eternal forests. You've heard the urban legends from Johto trainers, hikers who enter Ilex at night and emerge days later, claiming hours stretched into infinities. In game terms, this manifests as softlocks tied to Celebi's mechanics. Push the event too far, say by using a walk through walls, cheat near the shrine, and you can trigger infinite loops, where the forest map reloads endlessly, your character stuck reliving the same path. But it's not just glitches, lore supports it. Ancient Johto scrolls describe Celebi's snare, where meddlers in time, poachers, archaeologists, find themselves cycling through the same day, watching the forest wither and regrow in perpetuity. Consider this real-world parallel from player experiences. A group of friends in the early 2000s attempted a Celebi marathon, chaining events across multiple cartridges linked via trade. Midway, their games desynced, with one player's forest turning autumnal, while others saw spring. They couldn't exit without resetting, and upon reload, their Pokédex entries for forest Pokémon duplicated, as if the loop copied data. Was Celebi enforcing a reset, trapping their digital selves in an echo chamber? The complication deepens with reports of psychological effects, trainers feeling disoriented post-event, convinced they've lived the chase multiple times. In the anime's Celebi movie, a village frozen in a loop, humans aging while the forest remains verdant. Translate that to gameplay. What if every Celebi encounter subtly loops your progress, erasing suboptimal choices to keep the timeline pure? These loops aren't punishments, they're safeguards, but they ensnare explorers who probe too deeply. Imagine you're that explorer, flashlight cutting through fog-shrouded paths, only to realise the same twisted route keeps tripping you. In Pokémon Mystery Dungeon, a spin-off, Celebi appears as a rescuer from time rifts, pulling guilds out of collapsing dungeons, mirroring Ilex's webs on a grander scale. But in core games, the eternal forest trap is subtler. ROM hackers have isolated the loop code, a recursive function that increments a hidden counter each time you approach the shrine without the GS ball. Hit 0, and you're spat back to the entrance, memory intact but progress nullified. Players who've endured it describe a creeping dread, the forest closing in like a living entity. One forum post recounts a 72-hour session where the loop wouldn't break, ending only when the player traded Celebi away, freeing them. but dooming another timeline. This complication raises profound questions for you as a trainer. Are we all caught in Celebi's webs, our journeys looped to fit an unseen narrative? The code anomalies suggest yes. Erased events where loops spiral out of control, forests swallowing entire regions. Yet there's hope in the Guardian's benevolence. Break the cycle by respecting the shrine, and Celebi rewards with glimpses of purified futures. In Colosseum and XD, Shadow Celebi variants hint at corrupted loops, where time webs turn malevolent, trapping Pokémon in eternal torment. Redeem them, and you mend the paradox, but fail, and the loop claims you. As we emerge from these tangled webs, shaken but wiser, consider how Celebi's manipulations pale against the ancient sentinels buried deeper in the earth. What colossal beings of unyielding rock, frozen ice, and forged steel guard secrets that could shatter timelines entirely. You won't want to miss uncovering their enigmas in the next chapter. Regirock, Regis, and Registeel. Wait, but let's not rush away just yet. There's more to unpack in Celebi's domain that ties everything together. Think about the broader implications for Johto's ecosystem. Ilex Forest serves as a microcosm for the region's temporal stability, with Celebi acting as the linchpin. Without its interventions, paradoxes could cascade. What if the Burn Tower's fire wasn't just human error, but a loop ignited by unchecked time rifts? Game theorists point to unused sprites in silver, a charred Elex overlaid with Celebi's silhouette, suggesting a prevented disaster. You step into this as a player, your choice is rippling outward. Choose to over-level before the event, and subtle shifts occur. Celebi's level adjusts, as if anticipating your power. It's meta-time travel, the game adapting to you. Delving further, let's explore fan recreations that bring these paradoxes to life. ROM hacks like Celebi's Legacy expand Elex into a full-time travel hub, where you navigate eras from prehistoric Johto to a cyberpunk future. In one branch, you prevent the construction of Goldenrod's radio tower, averting radio signal paradoxes that disrupt Pokémon migrations. These aren't official, but they echo the code anomalies, filling in erased blanks with plausible what-ifs. Players report genuine thrills, heart racing, as loops force moral dilemmas. Save the forest now, or risk a barren future. It's Celebi teaching through entrapment. The Eternal Forest a classroom of consequences. And those time loops? They're not always digital. Real-world conventions have hosted Elex challenges, where groups roleplay the event, timing walks to mimic game clocks. Some swear by synchronicities, finding actual Celebi merch at pivotal moments, as if the Guardian bleeds into our reality. Skeptics call it coincidence, but the code revelation lends credence. If Game Freak embedded anomalies hinting at erased events, why not extensions beyond the screen? Perhaps Celebi's webs span mediums, looping stories across games, anime, manga. One last layer, the emotional toll. You've bonded with your team through trials, only for a Celebi glitch to rewind a key battle. Frustration mounts, but then insight hits. It's a paradox resolved, your Pokémon stronger for the erasure. This mirrors life, where perceived setbacks are temporal corrections. Celebi doesn't trap to harm, it ensnares to evolve. With that, the webs loosen, but the pull toward deeper mysteries strengthens. Those titans of element and endurance await, promising revelations that dwarf even time's twists. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Regirock, Regis, and Registeel. Deep in the heart of Hoenn's ancient landscapes, the Regi trio, Regirock, Regice, and Registeel stand as silent sentinels of a forgotten era. Colossal golems, forged not by human hands, but by the very forces of nature itself. These legendary Pokémon aren't just powerful fighters in battles, they're enigmas wrapped in stone, ice and steel, guarding secrets that could rewrite our understanding of the world's primordial history. What if I told you that their existence ties back to cataclysmic events from thousands of years ago, events that shaped continents and chilled oceans? Buckle up, because we're about to unearth the truth behind these immovable titans. Let's start with Regirock, the embodiment of unyielding earth. Not as a visual, but as a rumble you can feel in your chest, buried beneath the scorching sands of Route 111's desert ruins. Regirock slumbers in a chamber sealed by massive stone slabs. Discovered in the games as a puzzle-locked guardian, its lore hints at origins far older than any trainer's Pokédex entry. According to ancient Hoennian texts, Regirock was crafted by a long-lost civilization, perhaps the same one that revered the Weather Trio, using the raw essence of volcanic rock and seismic energy. They say it was awakened during a time when the land itself rebelled, earthquakes splitting the ground like fragile eggshells. But why create such a behemoth? Regirock wasn't born to destroy, it was designed to contain. Its body, a patchwork of boulders fused by geothermal pressure, pulses with the Earth's fury, ready to crush any who disturb the balance. You might wonder, how do we even know this? It comes from fragmented murals in those very ruins, depicting golem-like figures rising from fissures in the desert floor. Expeditions in the real world, inspired by Pokémon lore, have mirrored this. Archaeologists in arid regions like the Sahara have uncovered similar monolithic structures, suggesting that Game Freak drew from global myths of Earth Guardians. Regirock's dots for eyes aren't random. They're symbolic voids, representing the endless depths from which it emerged. And when you battle it, that slow, deliberate charge, it's a reminder of patience carved into stone, a force that outlasts erosion and time. But here's where it gets personal. If you've ever stood on shaky ground during a hike, feeling the planet shift beneath you, that's the vibe Regirock embodies. It's not just a Pokémon, it's the mountain that refuses to crumble. Shifting gears to the frozen wastelands, Regice takes the stage as the icy counterpart, hidden in the glacial caverns of Route 105's island ruins. This one's a chill that seeps into your bones, a crystalline colossus formed from primordial ice that predates the last ice age. Lore paints Regice as a creation of desperate mages or natural cataclysms, compressing Arctic blizzards into a form that defies melting. Its body gleams with facets sharper than diamonds, trapping light in ways that make it almost invisible until it's too late. In the games, you solve riddles of light and shadow to free it, but the deeper story, it's tied to a global freeze where Regice was awakened to preserve life amid encroaching doom. Its hyper beams, not weapons, but barriers of frost. Think about the expeditions that failed to grasp. This, teams venturing into polar simulations or high-altitude digs have reported equipment freezing solid overnight, echoes of Regice's domain. Ancient scripts from Inuit-inspired folklore, which Pokémon lore subtly nods to, describe ice golems as wardens against warmth's invasion. Regice's 7 orbs? They're said to hold the souls of frozen storms, each one a vortex of sub-zero power. You can almost hear the crackle of expanding ice in its cries, a sound that makes you pull your coat tighter. What draws you in is the paradox, so fragile in appearance, yet eternally enduring. Have you ever touched frost on a window and felt that brittle snap? Multiply that by 1,000 and you've got Regice, beautiful, deadly, and utterly indifferent to your warmth. Then there's Registeel, the metallic marvel lurking in the iron-veined depths of Route Waiutai's ancient city ruins, a labyrinth of rusted alloys and forgotten forges. This golem isn't born of sand or snow, it's hammered from meteoric iron, a relic of celestial impacts that scarred the planet eons ago. Its lore whispers of alchemists or volcanic smiths who captured lightning's fury to bind the metal, creating a being that laughs at corrosion and fire. In the games, it's the pinnacle of the trio, requiring a key from the stars to unlock, symbolizing its otherworldly birth. Registeel's body hums with magnetic resonance, repelling attacks as if the universe itself protects it. Real-world parallels. Metallurgists studying ancient iron artifacts from sites like the Indus Valley have marveled at their purity, much like Registeel's flawless sheen. Myths from cultures around anvil gods fuel this, where steel guardians stood against invading hordes. Its arms, jointed like mechanical pistons, swing with the weight of falling stars. You feel the clang in your mind when it moves, a rhythm like a blacksmith's hammer on eternity. But why these three together? The Regi Trio's origins converge in a grand design. Created as a triad to maintain equilibrium, earth to stabilize, ice to cool, metal to fortify, during Hoenn's formative chaos, when land masses collided and skies darkened. Now, as we piece this puzzle, let's talk about how these golems were truly awakened, or rather, how humanity's curiosity nearly doomed us all. Scattered across their ruins are Braille inscriptions, those dotted scripts that players decode in the games, but their full translation reveals a chilling narrative. Etched by the creators themselves, they detail the trio's purpose. Not mere protectors, but locks on a vault of unimaginable power. You see, the ancient civilization feared a greater threat, something slumbering beneath the ruins, tied to the planet's core. The Braille warns explicitly, disturb the golems and you risk shattering the seals. The stone holds the tremor, the frost, the breath, the steel, the spark, it reads in part. Awaken them without harmony and the devourer stirs. This twist hits hard because it reframes everything. The Regi Trio aren't isolated legends, they're fail-safes against an apocalypse. Imagine deciphering those bumps under your fingers in a dim ruin, heart racing as the meaning sinks in. What is this greater threat? Theories abound, perhaps a precursor to Kyogre and Groudon, or an entity like the one in Sinnoh's creation myths, but the inscriptions cut off abruptly, leaving scholars debating for years. In Pokémon lore, it's implied that the trio's synchronization prevents this awakening, their powers interlocking like gears in a doomsday clock. But here's the gut punch. History shows the warnings weren't heeded. Failed excavations tell tales of hubris. Take the seismic disasters linked to Regirock's desert site. In the early 2000s, when Ruby and Sapphire dropped, fans and researchers flocked to mimic the ruins in real deserts. One ill-fated dig in the Namib, chasing Pokémon parallels, triggered a chain of quakes, sandslides burying equipment, fissures swallowing tents whole. Experts later attributed it to unstable dunes, but the timing? Eerily coincidental with Lore's earthquakes. It's as if the Earth remembered and retaliated, Regirock's essence stirring in protest. Regisi's cryogenic catastrophes are even more harrowing. Arctic teams probing ice caves, inspired by the golem's chill, faced flash freezes that turned breath to shards. A 2010 expedition in Greenland hit a wall, literally, when temperatures plummeted 40 degrees in hours, encasing machinery in impenetrable rime. Survivors spoke of an unnatural hush, broken only by cracking ice that mimicked Regisi's roar. These weren't just accidents, they were echoes of the Braille's caution. cryogenic blasts sealing away the foolish. And Registeel, its iron ruins have sparked electromagnetic anomalies during digs. In the rust belts of old industrial sites modelled after the law, compasses spun wild, and storms of static lightning downed drones. A Brazilian team in 2015 unearthed metallic relics, only for a freak surge to melt their tools, leaving scars like Registeel's flash cannon burns. Each failure underscores the twist. Awakening the trio piecemeal invites chaos, hinting at that greater threat, a seismic icy metallic cataclysm that could engulf Hoenn. Diving deeper, consider the cultural ripple. In Japan, where Pokémon hails from, golem myths from Jizo statues to Kappa guardians infuse the Regi design. Regirock's earthy bulk evokes the stone guardians of Shinto shrines, immovable against evil. Registeel draws from Yuki-onna tales, seductive yet lethal snow spirits. Registeel, think of the katana's forge, purity through fire and hammer. These aren't coincidences. They're tributes to folklore that warns of tampering with nature's balance. Fans have roleplayed this in communities, sharing stories of cursed saves where awakening the trio glitches the game. Metaphors for the disasters we've seen. You can't ignore the in-game mechanics either, how they reinforce the lore. Regirock's rock-typing tank's physical hits, mirroring its desert resilience. Regis's ice absorbs special attacks, a nod to its insulating frost. Registeel's steel shrugs off status, eternal and unyielding. But unite them in a team, and their synergy spikes. Explosion moves syncing like the creators intended. It's a subtle nudge, harmony or havoc. What if these golems are more than myth? Modern theorists link them to geological events, Regirock to plate tectonics, Regis to climate shifts, Registeel to meteor strikes that iron-enriched soils. Pokémon isn't just entertainment, it's a lens on science, making you question if ancient humans witnessed these awakenings and deified them. As we wrap this chapter on the Regi trio, their origins in those forsaken ruins leave you pondering the cost of curiosity. The Braille's warning lingers like a shadow. Awaken the greater threat, and what then? But don't linger too long in the cold. Up next, we dive into the shimmering deceptions of Latios and Latia's illusions, where psychic mirages hide secrets that could bend reality itself. What illusions are they guarding, and why do they flee from human eyes? Stick around. You won't want to miss how these Eon siblings play tricks on the mind that make the Regi's warnings seem tame. Latios and Latias illusions. Latios and Latias, the elusive Eon duo, possess a psychic ability so profound it blurs the line between reality and deception, allowing them to shift their forms like whispers in the wind. Have you ever wondered how these legendary Pokémon evade capture and safeguard their most guarded mysteries? Their illusions aren't just tricks of the light. They're a deliberate veil over ancient secrets hidden in the heart of Southern Island. Picture yourself sailing towards Southern Island off the coast of Hoenn, where the waters turn crystalline and the air hums with an otherworldly energy. This isn't some ordinary atoll. It's a sanctuary whispered about in Pokémon lore, a place where the veil between the human world and the legendary realm thins to transparency. Legend has it that Latios and Latias make this island their home, not by chance but by design. They're the eternal sentinels, shape-shifting to protect the island's deepest secrets from prying eyes. Why go to such lengths? Because Southern Island harbours relics from a forgotten era, artifacts that could rewrite everything we know about Pokémon history. Let me take you deeper into their world. Latios, the sleek blue-winged guardian with eyes like piercing sapphires, and Latias, his gentle counterpart cloaked in crimson and white, aren't content with mere flight or speed. Their psychic prowess lets them morph into everyday forms, birds soaring overhead, shadows darting through the underbrush, even human silhouettes blending into crowds. Imagine a trainer landing on the island's shores, binoculars in hand, scanning for a glimpse of the duo. Suddenly, what looks like a flock of Pidgey scatters at your approach. But was it really birds or Latios and Latias cloaked in illusion, leading you astray from the hidden cove where glowing crystals pulse with untapped power? This shape-shifting isn't random, it's a calculated defense. Southern Island's core secret lies in its central shrine, a structure carved from iridescent stone that predates even the oldest known civilizations. Inside, murals depict the Eon Pokémon, not as wanderers, but as protectors of a vast network of ley lines, energetic pathways that connect legendary sites across the regions. If intruders discovered these, they could harness the energy for unthinkable purposes, from amplifying battles to unlocking forbidden evolutions. So Latios dives into the role of a swift winggull, skimming the waves to scout for threats, while Latias assumes the form of a shy child lost in the foliage, her illusions weaving empathy to disarm suspicious visitors. You might chat with her disguised self, sharing stories of your journey, only to realize later that her questions probed your true intentions. It's chilling, isn't it? These Pokémon don't just hide. They infiltrate, observe, and manipulate perceptions to ensure the island remains untouched. But how do they pull off these feats without detection? Their illusions stem from a rare psychic technique called Mirage Veil, an ability that bends light and sound around their bodies, creating perfect doppelgangers. In the games, hints of this in their Soul Dew item, which enhances their powers when they're near their sacred grounds. In the anime, episodes showcase Latias turning into a yellow bike, or even a human girl named Bianca, seamlessly integrating into Alto Mare's society. Southern Island amplifies this. The island's natural aura acts like a battery, fueling illusions that last for days. Trainers who venture too close report eerie experiences, paths that loop endlessly, voices calling from empty caves or sudden fogs that swallow landmarks whole. One explorer, in a dusty journal from the 90s, described seeing his own reflection in a pool of water wink at him independently. Was it Latios, mirroring his form to study him? Or Latias, planting doubts to send him packing? These aren't tall tales, they're the duo's way of enforcing isolation, turning the island into a living puzzle no one solves. Now let's escalate this mystery. What if their shape-shifting serves a grander purpose, one that ties into a revelation mirroring events far from Southern Island? Turn your thoughts to Alto Mare, that floating city of canals and spires in the Johto Seas. You've probably seen the movie, The Soul Dew Stolen, the ancient guardian Pokémon awakening. But beneath the surface, adventure lies a parallel to the Eon Duo's deceptions. Alto Mare's optical illusions, those grand waterworks and shifting landscapes created by the city's mechanisms, echo the psychic mirages of Latios and Latias with uncanny precision. Here's the revelation that will make you rethink everything. The illusions in Alto Mare aren't just mechanical marvels, they're inspired by, or perhaps directly influenced by, the Eon Pokémon's abilities. In the film's lore, the city was built by people who witnessed Latios and Latias centuries ago, capturing their mirage techniques in architecture and hydraulics. Those cascading fountains that form impossible shapes, they're tributes to Latias' fluid disguises, water bending like psychic energy to create deceptive vistas, the labyrinthine streets that seem to rearrange themselves. A nod to Latios' speed-blurred illusions, disorienting foes just as the duo does on Southern Island. Even the grand illusion of the city rising from the sea mimics how Latias cloaks entire areas in fog, making sacred sites vanish from maps. You see, Alto Mare's founders weren't engineers alone. They were observers of legendaries. Ancient texts from the region describe red and blue spirits visiting the island builders, demonstrating shapeshifting to teach defense against invaders. In exchange for protection, the people engineered the city's defenses, embedding Mirage Veil principles into stone and water. It's no coincidence that the soul dew, central to both stories, powers these illusions. When Latios sacrifices himself in the movie, his essence lingers, enhancing Alto Mare's mechanisms, proving the duo's influence spans regions. But why reveal this now? Because it uncovers a pattern. Wherever Latios and Latias appear, illusions follow, suggesting they're not just guardians of one island, but architects of deception across the Pokémon world. This connection begs a bolder theory, one that escalates the stakes to legendary proportions. What if Latios and Latias aren't merely protecting Southern Island's shrine? What if they're the last line of defense for a lost Pokémon civilization, buried beneath the waves and islands they patrol? Imagine it, an ancient society where humans and Pokémon coexisted in harmony, powered by the same psychic mirages that now shield secrets. Ruins like those in Southern Island and Alto Mare could be remnants, sunken cities where Eon Pokémon ruled as illusion weavers, hiding their people from cataclysmic events like the Great War hinted at in Arceus lore. Evidence mounts when you dig deeper. Fossil records from Hoenn show psychic imprints on stones that match Mirage Veil patterns, predating human settlement. In the games, Southern Island is accessible only via special events involving the Eon ticket, symbolizing restricted access to this hidden history. Theories from Pokémon scholars suggest the duo shapeshifts to mislead archaeologists, turning dig sites into mirage-filled dead ends. Remember the Reiji trio in Hoenn? Their creation ties into golem legends, but what if they were built to guard entrances to this lost realm, with Latios and Latias as the psychic overseers? One wild speculation: the civilization fell due to over-reliance on illusions, causing a reality collapse. Now the duo prevents history from repeating by veiling any traces. You might dismiss this as fan theory, but consider the emotional weight. Latios and Latias aren't aggressors. They're melancholic protectors, forever wandering because their home was lost. In their illusions, grief woven into guardianship, shape-shifting not for sport, but survival. A trainer who once claimed to befriend Latias on Southern Island described her form flickering between joy and sorrow, as if reliving the civilization's fall. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? These Pokémon, with their jet-like grace and empathetic souls, bear the burden alone, ensuring no one unearths a past that could unleash chaos. Delve further into their tactics, and you'll find layers of ingenuity. On Southern Island, Latios uses high-altitude illusions to project false weather, storms that never rain, guiding ships away from the shores. Latias, more ground-oriented, creates auditory mirages, the rustle of leaves that sounds like approaching footsteps, luring intruders into natural traps like quicksand pits veiled as solid ground. In one documented case from a Hoenn expedition log, a team of researchers followed what they thought was a rare Pokémon call, only to end up circling the same tree for hours. The call, Latias mimicking a Jigglypuff song, laced with psychic suggestion to induce loops in their minds. This mirrors Alto Mare's defences perfectly. The city's water gates, which create illusory walls of spray, function like Latios speed mirages, blurring vision to hide approaches. And the grand plaza's holographic-like displays, direct analogues to Latias's empathetic illusions, projecting calming scenes to pacify visitors. But the revelation deepens. Hidden chambers in Altomar House scrolls detailing how the Eon duo taught these techniques. One scroll, allegedly translated in a rare Pokémon Society publication, reads, "The red spirit danced as water, the blue as sky, showing us to weave dreams into stone." It's as if the duo imprinted their essence into human ingenuity, ensuring their secrets endure through mimicry. Now, pushing the theory further, this lost civilization might explain the Eon Pokémon's rarity. Perhaps they were the ruling class, psychic overlords, who shapeshifted to lead without fear. Catastrophe struck, maybe a Darkrai-induced nightmare or a Mewtwo-like experiment gone wrong, sinking their empire. Survivors like Latios and Latias now patrol hotspots, Southern Island as a nexus point, Alto Mare as the above-water archive. Clues abound in other legends. The Mirage Tower in Hoenn, which appears and vanishes, could be another illusion-shielded ruin. Even the distortion world of Giratina echoes this, with flipped realities born from psychic overreach. Feel the suspense building? You're piecing together a puzzle that official lore only hints at. What if encountering the duo isn't luck, but a test? They might illusion themselves as your partner Pokémon during a journey, gauging your heart before revealing truths. In the anime, Latios' final act in Alto Mare was pure sacrifice, his mirage fading to save the city. A echo of protecting the lost civilization's legacy. It's profound, making you question. Are we intruders in their guarded world, or potential allies? As we unravel these threads, the illusions of Latios and Latias reveal not just power, but purpose, a desperate bid to preserve what's left of a forgotten golden age. But hold on, because the mysteries don't stop here. Up next, we'll dive into Chapter 14, Jirachi's Wishful Stars, where a sleepy legend grants wishes that could connect to these very guardians in ways that will leave you starry-eyed and questioning the cosmos itself. What secrets do those falling stars hide? Stick around, you won't want to miss it. Jirachi's Wishful Stars. Every 1,000 years Jirachi awakens from its deep slumber, a mythical Pokémon said to grant any wish its summoner desires. But what if those wishes don't always unfold as planned? You've probably heard the tales, the ones whispered around campfires in the Sinnoh region, where Jirachi is said to emerge during the Perseid meteor shower, its tiny body shimmering like a fallen star. Today, we're diving into the hidden layers of these awakenings, uncovering how Jirachi's power has sparked chaos across history, and why some of the most benevolent intentions have led to legendary disasters. Let's start at the beginning, or at least as far back as the ancient texts allow us to trace. Jirachi isn't just any legendary, it's a being tied to the very fabric of dreams and desires. According to scrolls from the ruins of Floaroma Town, first discovered in the early 1900s by explorers charting the wilderness, Jirachi slumbers for a millennium in a crystalline cocoon, hidden in the peaks of Mount Coronet. When it stirs, it's drawn to the energy of human longing, amplified by celestial events like meteor showers that light up the night sky. You can picture the scene, villagers in ancient times, gazing up at streaks of light, chanting rituals to call forth the wish granter. And it works. Jirachi appears, its 3 golden tags fluttering like banners of hope, ready to bend reality to a single command. But here's where the story gets tricky. Not every wish is pure, and even the purest ones can ripple out in ways no one anticipates. Take the legend from the Kalos archives, dated around 500 BCE. A desperate king facing famine in what is now Lumiose City wished for endless rain to nourish his parched lands. Jirachi granted it. All right. The skies opened, and for weeks, torrents fell. turning fields green overnight. Sounds perfect, right? Except the floods that followed swallowed entire villages, displacing thousands and awakening Kyogre from its oceanic depths. That's right, Jirachi's wish inadvertently summoned the sea basin Pokémon, whose rage amplified the deluge into a cataclysm that reshaped coastlines. Historians now link that event to the Great Kalos Flood, a disaster that forced migrations and altered trade routes for generations. You have to wonder, did the king ever realize his salvation came at such a cost? These aren't just isolated myths. Patterns emerge when you dig deeper. Fast forward to the Hoenn region in the 12th century. A scholar in Evergrande City, obsessed with knowledge, wished for the wisdom of the ages to be revealed. Jirachi obliged, flooding his mind with visions of forgotten lore. But the overload shattered his sanity, and in his delirium, he scrawled prophecies that panicked the populace. Fearing the end times, priests performed rites that stirred Rayquaza from the ozone layer. The sky dragon descended, not in fury, but in confusion, its presence causing atmospheric storms that ravaged the land for years. Emerald tablets from that era described the wish that cracked the heavens, with eyewitness accounts of Jirachi vanishing amid the chaos, as if recoiling from the mess it had unleashed. It's a sobering reminder that power like Jirachi's doesn't discriminate. It amplifies whatever you throw at it, good intentions included. You might be thinking, these are ancient stories, folklore dressed up as fact, but let's peel back the layers. In the Unova region, during the industrial boom of the 1800s, a factory owner wished for boundless energy to fuel his machines, hoping to bring prosperity to Nimbasa City. Jirachi appeared under a rare Leonid meteor storm, granting fuel that burned eternally without smoke. Machines hummed day and night, but the unchecked power destabilized ley lines, those invisible energy veins Pokémon lore speaks of. This drew Zekrom into the fray, the deep black Pokémon of ideals, whose electric fury short-circuited the entire grid, plunging the region into darkness and sparking the Unova blackout riots. Reports from the time preserved in the Nakreen City Museum detail sightings of a small star-like figure fleeing the scene, leaving behind scorched earth and regret. These conflicts aren't random. They're echoes of Jirachi's unintended invitations to other legendaries, turning wishes into battlegrounds. Now imagine you're an archaeologist sifting through these tales, connecting dots across continents. The twist deepens when you realize how often Jirachi's awakenings have pulled other Pokémon into the mix. Not as allies, but as rivals awakened by the same cosmic pull. In Johto, around 300 AD, a healer's wish for eternal health during a plague summoned Celebi from the forests, but the time-travelling guardian clashed with Jirachi's raw wish energy, creating temporal rifts that aged entire groves overnight. Survivors spoke of stars warring with leaves, a poetic way to describe the legendary skirmish that healed some, but doomed others to wander lost in time. It's almost as if Jirachi's power acts like a beacon, drawing territorial guardians who see the alterations as threats to balance. And it's not just history books that hold these secrets. Modern astronomy has started to whisper connections we can't ignore. Think about the Perseids, that annual meteor shower peaking in August, visible from Sinnoh's shores. Scientists at the Moss Deep Space Center have noted anomalies, unexplained electromagnetic spikes during peak activity, correlating with Jirachi's supposed awakening cycles. In 2022, during an unusually intense shower, telescopes captured faint, irregular light patterns that didn't match known meteors. Researchers dismissed them as space debris at first, but Pokémon enthusiasts cross-referenced with old Sinnoh folklore and found matches. descriptions of Jirachi's dormant calls, subtle psychic pulses that ripple through the atmosphere, perhaps testing the waters before full emergence. You see, these calls aren't loud announcements. They're like whispers in the wind, stirring the collective unconscious. Amateur astronomers in Paldea have reported similar oddities during the Geminids, with radio interference that mimics the psychic hum attributed to Jirachi. One study from the Lumiose University Observatory suggests these showers aren't just cosmic fireworks, they're amplifiers for Jirachi's latent energy, making its millennium slumbers less absolute. What if every shooting star you wish upon is actually a faint echo of Jirachi stirring below? It reframes those childhood moments, doesn't it? That simple act of hoping under the stars might be brushing against something far more profound, a dormant force waiting to twist fate. But let's not stop at science. Let's explore the human side. Consider the trainer from the Alola Islands in the late 20th century, who, during a family crisis, sought out Jirachi legends and performed a makeshift ritual under the Orionid's shower. Legend has it, his wish for family unity mended broken bonds, but it also awakened Tapu Koko, the electric guardian, who interpreted the surge as an invasion. The resulting storms isolated the islands for months, testing that very unity in ways the trainer never imagined. Stories like this flood online forums, anonymous accounts of wishes that backfired spectacularly, from lost artifacts in Kanto museums to unexplained vanishings in Galar's wild areas. Each one ties back to Jirachi's pattern: grant the wish, but ignite a chain reaction that summons enforcers from the legendary pantheon. Delving deeper, we find cultural impacts that linger today. In Sinnoh festivals, like the annual Starlight Ceremony in Kanalav City, performers reenact Jirachi tales with cautionary twists, warning against greedy hearts. Yet the allure persists. Why? Because for every disaster, there's a whisper of success, a barren field blooming after a humble farmer's plea, untouched by conflict. But even those victories come with shadows. A 15th century Ur nomad wished for safe travels across deserts, and Jirachi delivered oases that quenched thirsts for generations. However, the new water source is disturbed. Regirock's ancient slumbers, leading to seismic tremors that buried caravan routes. The nomads adapted, but the legend evolved into a proverb: wish wisely, lest the earth wishes back. Astronomers today are piecing this together with data from satellites like those launched by the Devon Corporation. They've mapped correlations between meteor activity and Pokémon migrations, particularly psychics drawn northward during Jirachi's windows. In 2019, a spike during the Draconids aligned with reports of Abra evolutions spiking in Map Moon, as if the calls were awakening latent potentials region-wide. It's not proof, but it's compelling, suggesting Jirachi's influence extends beyond the wish, into a subtle orchestration of the Pokémon world. You have to ask yourself, if modern tech can detect these calls, what happens when someone with real intent tunes in? Could the next awakening be sooner than we think? Fueled by our global fascination, these historical entanglements reveal a Jirachi that's less a genie and more a cosmic wildcard. Its wishes like throwing a stone into a pond of legends, watching the waves clash. From Kyogre's floods to Zekrom's storms, the unintended conflicts paint a picture of a world where desires intersect with guardianship in explosive ways. And as astronomy bridges the gap, linking those shooting stars to dormant summons, it makes you pause during the next meteor shower. What wish would you dare make, knowing the stars might answer in ways you can't control? As we wrap up this celestial unraveling, prepare yourself for the next layer of the cosmos. Up next, In Chapter 15, The Creation Trio's Cosmos, we'll explore how Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina shape the very pillars of time, space, and antimatter, secrets that could rewrite everything you know about reality itself. You won't want to miss how their eternal dance ties into the stars we've just wished upon. The Creation Trio's Cosmos Dialga, the temporal Pokémon, isn't just a legend. It's the very heartbeat of time itself in the Pokémon world. Born from the chaos of creation, this steel and dragon behemoth commands the flow of seconds, minutes, and eras with a power that could unravel history if unchecked. But what if I told you that Dialga's dominion goes far beyond the games we've played? It's a force that echoes the deepest mysteries of our own universe, where time bends and warps in ways that challenge everything we think we know. Let's start at the beginning, or at least as close as we can get. In the lore of Sinnoh, Dialga emerged alongside Palkia and Giratina when Arceus, the alpha Pokémon, shaped the world from a single egg. Dialga was tasked with governing time, ensuring that past, present, and future remain in harmony. Picture this. Every roar of time attack isn't just a flashy move in battle. It's a glimpse into Dialga's core ability to accelerate or freeze the temporal stream. Trainers who have faced it in the distortion world or at the spear pillar describe a sensation like the world slowing to a crawl, where your thoughts stretch out endlessly while the air itself feels heavy with unspoken moments. You might wonder, how does something so immense even exist? According to ancient Sinnoh texts, Dialga's body is forged from pure primal Dialga energy, a state where time crystals pulse within its metallic hide. This isn't fantasy fluff, it's a deliberate design by Game Freak that mirrors real-world concepts. Think about it. Dialga's role stabilizes the Pokémon universe, preventing paradoxes that could erase entire regions. Without it, events like the Kalos War or the Unova Crisis might loop infinitely, trapping everything in a never-ending cycle. But here's where it gets thrilling. Dialga doesn't just control time, it embodies it. Legends say that merely beholding Dialga can age you in an instant or rewind your life to a forgotten youth. Have you ever paused during a Pokémon playthrough, staring at its sprite, and felt a chill? That's the subconscious pull of its power reaching through the screen. Now shift your gaze to Palkia, the spatial Pokémon, Dialga's counterpart in the realm of space. Where Dialga weaves the threads of when, Palkia stretches and folds the fabric of where. This pink and white Leviathan can warp dimensions, creating pockets of reality or collapsing distances that would take lifetimes to cross. In the games, Palkia's spatial rend tears through space like a rift in reality, leaving behind echoes of alternate locations. But dig deeper into the mythology, and you'll find Palkia as the architect of the physical world. Mountains rise at its whim, oceans part, and even the stars seem to realign under its gaze. Imagine standing at the peak of Mount Coronet, where the air shimmers with latent energy. That's Palkia's influence, subtly bending space to keep the world intact. Without Palkia, the Pokémon universe would crumble into nothingness, stars plummeting into voids, and trainers lost in endless expanses. It's no coincidence that Palkia resides in a spatial realm, a labyrinth of floating islands and infinite voids, accessible only through tears in the veil. Stories from Sinnoh elders speak of fishermen vanishing into sudden fog banks, only to reappear miles away, claiming they swam through Palkia's breath. You can almost hear the whoosh of displaced air, feel the ground shift beneath your feet as space itself rebels. But no discussion of the Creation Trio is complete without Giratina, the renegade Pokémon, ruler of the antimatter-laden distortion world. Exiled by Arceus for its violent nature, Giratina doesn't fit neatly into time or space. It defies them both. This ghostly dragon, with its golden armour and swirling voids for legs, governs the inverted side of reality, where gravity inverts and shadows have weight. Giratina's Shadow Force ability isn't mere evasion, it's a plunge into antimatter, emerging from angles that shouldn't exist. In the lore, it's the balancer, ensuring that creation doesn't tip into chaos by absorbing the universe's darker energies. Giratina's domain, the distortion world, is a fractured mirror of our own, a place where up is down, left is right, and time loops in maddening patterns. Cyrus, the Team Galactic leader, sought to harness this trio's power to remake the world, but Giratina's intervention turned his plans to ruin. You see, while Dialga and Palkia create and sustain, Giratina destroys and reforms, a necessary shadow to their light. Legends whisper of trainers who stumbled into its realm, emerging changed, their perceptions shattered. Have you ever dreamed of a world upside down, where Pokémon float defiantly against logic? That's Giratina calling from the fringes. Together, these three form the creation trio, a symbiotic force dominating space-time in ways that feel almost engineered for cosmic scale. Dialga's temporal grip holds the timeline steady, Palkia's spatial mastery expands the canvas, and Giratina's antimatter touch prevents total collapse. In the Pokémon universe, their interplay at the Spear Pillar, a monolithic altar atop Mount Coronet, represents the nexus of all existence. It's here that Arceus summoned them to forge reality, and it's here that threats like Cyrus's red chain, experiments, nearly unravelled everything. The pillar isn't just stone, it's a conduit, vibrating with the trio's raw power, where the boundaries between worlds thin to a whisper. But let's crank this up a notch, because what if this isn't just Pokémon mythos? What you're about to uncover ties directly into our own science, revealing parallels that suggest something profound. Multiverse breaches. Quantum physics, that wild frontier of particles and probabilities, offers startling echoes of the creation trio's dominion. Take Dialga and time. Quantum mechanics tells us time isn't linear, it's relative, as Einstein showed with his theory of relativity. But go deeper into quantum entanglement, where particles linked across vast distances influence each other instantaneously, defying the speed of light. Doesn't that sound like Dialga's roar of time, syncing moments that should be separated by eons? Now consider Palkia and space. String theory proposes extra dimensions curled up within our own, hidden realms. We can't see but that shape everything. Palkia's ability to rend space mirrors wormholes, theoretical tunnels that could connect distant points in the universe, or even different universes. Physicists like Stephen Hawking have speculated on these, warning that tampering with them could lead to cataclysmic rips. And Giratina, antimatter is real. It's the mirror opposite of normal matter, and when they collide, they annihilate each other in bursts of energy. The distortion world feels like a quantum foam, that seething underbelly of reality where virtual particles pop in and out of existence, as described by Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. Here's the revelation that will blow your mind. These parallels aren't coincidental. Some theorists argue that our universe might be one of many in a multiverse, each branching from quantum decisions, like choosing a path in a Pokémon route that alters the story. Breaches between them? That's where things get eerie. In quantum terms, events like the double-slit experiment show particles behaving as if aware of multiple outcomes, suggesting leaks from parallel realities. Imagine Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina as guardians of these barriers. their powers preventing multiverse incursions that could flood our world with alternate Pokémon or rewrite history. But hold on, there's a twist that adds real stakes. Those experiments at Spear Pillar? They're not just game plots, they hint at something dangerous. In Pokémon Diamond and Pearl, Cyrus binds the trio with the red chain, forcing a convergence of time, space, and antimatter. Translate that to quantum physics. It's like smashing particles in a collider, but on a universal scale. Real-world experiments at CERN's Large Hadron Collider probe similar boundaries, hunting for extra dimensions or micro black holes. Critics once feared these could trigger dimensional collapse, sucking Earth into a void. Sound familiar? Spear Pillar's rituals risk exactly that, a cascade failure where multiverse breaches widen, blending realities into chaos. Think about the implications. If Dialga falters, timelines fracture, and you might relive the same day eternally, like a glitchy save file. Palkia's lapse could warp regions, turning Pallet Town into a floating archipelago overnight. Giratina breaking free? Antimatter floods in, inverting the world into a distorted nightmare. Ancient Sinnoh murals depict this apocalypse, skies cracking like eggshells, Pokémon phasing through each other as dimensions merge. Trainers like you and me would be caught in the crossfire, our worlds overlapping with echoes of what could have been. Delve into fan theories backed by game data, and it gets even more intricate. Dialga's platinum form, infused with adamant orbs, amplifies its temporal control, stabilizing quantum fluctuations, much like how dark energy drives the universe's expansion. Palkia's lustrous globe counterpart manipulates spatial curvature, akin to gravitational waves detected by LIGO in 2015, ripples in spacetime from colliding black holes. Giratina's altered form, with its grounded stance, embodies the balance of positive and negative energies, paralleling CP violation in particle physics, where matter dominates over antimatter, allowing our universe to exist. You can feel the weight of this, can't you? As we explore these legends, it's like peeling back layers of a cosmic onion, each revelation stinging with wonder. What if the creation trio isn't confined to pixels and cards? What if they're archetypes of forces we glimpse in labs and telescopes? Scientists like Michio Kaku discuss Type I, II, and III civilizations harnessing such powers. Dialga for time travel, Palkia for interstellar jumps, Giratina for energy from the void. In Pokémon, the trio's dominion suggests a universe alive with intention, where every legendary encounter is a brush with the infinite. Let's ground this in stories that hit close to home. Remember the anime episode where Ash and friends witness the Spear Pillar's activation? The ground quakes, visions of fractured skies appear, and the trio's roars echo like thunder from another plane. That's not filler, it's a nod to the fragility of their balance. Or consider manga adaptations, where Giratina's exile is portrayed as a self-imposed vigil, watching for breaches that could doom all. You, as a viewer, are part of this tapestry. Every time you summon a legendary in battle, you're invoking a sliver of that cosmos. But the risks at Spear Pillar loom large. Those experiments, whether Cyrus's or older rituals by Sinnoh shamans, involve channeling the trio's essences through the pillar's crystals. In quantum speak, it's entanglement on steroids, linking particles across dimensions until the barriers strain. One misstep and collapse, a big crunch where spacetime folds inward, erasing Pokémon and trainers alike. Game files even hide data suggesting unused events where this happens, a deleted apocalypse teasing what might have been. As we stand at this precipice, gazing into the creation trio's vast dominion, the parallels to our quantum multiverse become undeniable. Breaches aren't just theory, they're warnings, etched in legend and equation. Dialga ticks forward, Palkia expands outward, Giratina lurks in the shadows. Together, they hold the line. But what happens when eternal legends step into the fray, answering questions that have lingered since the first Pokémon cry? In the next chapter, Eternal Legends and Lingering Questions. We'll uncover timeless guardians and puzzles that refuse to fade, pulling you deeper into mysteries that might just redefine everything you thought you knew. Eternal Legends and Lingering Questions. In the annals of Pokémon lore, there exists a single, undeniable truth that ties every shadowy encounter, every whispered legend, and every unexplained phenomenon together. The legendary Pokémon are not just stories, they are the threads of a vast unseen tapestry woven into the very fabric of our world. You've journeyed with me through hidden groves where Celebi's time ripples echo, across stormy seas haunted by Kyogre's wrath, and into the volcanic depths where Groudon stirs. But now, as we reach the heart of it all, let's pull those threads tight and see what pattern emerges. Are these beings flesh and blood, roaming among us in secret? Or are they archetypes, eternal symbols born from our collective imagination, shaping reality through belief alone? Think back to the first mystery we uncovered, those fleeting glimpses of Mew in ancient labs. Not as a lab creation, but as a primordial force slipping through dimensions. Then there were the guardian spirits of Sinnoh, Dialga and Palkia, bending time and space in ways that defy physics. We've delved into the spectral howls of the Tower of Spirits, where the unknown etch prophecies that predict disasters before they unfold. And don't forget the crystalline guardians of Hoenn, Regirock, Regite and Registeel, artifacts of a forgotten age, activating only when the balance teeters on the edge. Each one a puzzle piece in a grand mosaic. But what if I told you that forcing them into separate boxes misses the bigger picture? These aren't isolated events. They're interconnected signals from a deeper layer of existence. Consider the patterns. In every region, from Kanto's Mewtwo experiments to Carlos's Zygarde cells lurking in ecosystems, the legendaries appear when humanity pushes too far, when technology clashes with nature, or ambition overrides harmony. Take the case of the Alolan Guardians, Tapu Koko, with its electric storms that protect sacred sites, or Tapu Lele healing the wounded in hidden atolls. Eyewitness accounts from locals describe them not as aggressive monsters, but as interveners, stepping in only when the land cries out. Is this coincidence, or evidence of a system, a natural order enforcing itself through these avatars? We've heard tales from trainers in Unova about Reshiram and Zekrom, embodiments of truth and ideals, igniting civil wars through ideological fire. They don't just exist, they respond to our choices, mirroring our flaws back at us like a cosmic judgment. You might wonder, as I have during countless late nights poring over dusty tomes and grainy footage, if this responsiveness means they're alive in the traditional sense, real entities with hearts that beat and eyes that watch, or something more abstract. Archetypes suggest they're projections of the human psyche, collective unconscious made manifest, like Jung described in his theories of the soul. In that view, Mew represents curiosity unbound, the childlike wonder that drives discovery. Lugia, the diving guardian of the seas, embodies the subconscious depths we fear to explore. And Entei, the volcanic dog of Johto, symbolizes raw, untamed passion that can warm or consume. It's a compelling idea. After all, how many cultures share myths of sky dragons or earth shakers? The Pokémon world draws from global folklore. Think of Rayquaza as a feathered serpent, akin to Quetzalcoatl, or Jirachi fulfilling wishes, like a genie from Arabian Nights. If they're archetypes, then every sighting is a psychological event, a moment when our inner turmoil summons them into visibility. But here's where it gets tricky, and where the evidence starts to crack that theory wide open. If they were merely symbols, why did they leave physical traces? Scorch marks from Ho-Oh's rainbow flames that don't fade for years, or temporal anomalies around Celebi sightings where clocks run backward for minutes at a time. I remember a report from a hiker in the Johto Mountains, sworn under oath, who claimed to have touched the fur of Suicune as it purified a poisoned stream. The water cleared instantly, testable by pH levels before and after. No hallucination could alter chemistry like that. And what about the DNA samples? Rare as they are, leaked from black market collectors show sequences that don't match any known Pokémon, hinting at an otherworldly origin. Real entities then? Beings that walk parallel to our reality, crossing over when the veil thins? Ponder this with me. If they're real, why the secrecy? Why not reveal themselves en masse like in those epic battles from the games? Perhaps because their role isn't conquest, it's preservation. They've been with us since the dawn, witnesses to creation itself. That brings us to the synthesis, the moment where all these mysteries converge into something profound. Every legendary we've explored shares a common denominator. They guard thresholds. Mewtwo guards the threshold of creation through artificial life. The Lake Trio in Sinnoh, Azelf, Mesprit, Uxie guard willpower, emotion, and knowledge, the building blocks of consciousness. Even the mischievous duo of Hooper and its rings suggest portals between worlds, thresholds we shouldn't cross lightly. It's as if the Pokémon universe is layered, with these beings as sentinels preventing collapse. Now imagine pulling back the curtain on that final layer. What if there's one entity that oversees it all, a silent conductor pulling strings from the shadows? You've felt the build-up, haven't you? The way each story points to something greater, a force that birthed the legends themselves. It's time to unveil the unified theory that binds it together. Arceus, the alpha Pokémon, isn't just the creator god of myth, it's the hidden orchestrator, the architect ensuring the balance endures. Not a distant deity, but an active presence, manifesting through its plates and creations to steer the course of events. Let me break this down step by step, because this revelation demands clarity. Arceus, described in ancient texts as the one who shaped the universe from nothingness, holds the plates, elements representing every type: fire, water, psychic, and more. These aren't mere accessories, they're conduits. When a legendary like Kyogre floods the world, it's Arceus channeling the water plate through Groudon's rival to restore equilibrium. Think of the Sinnoh creation myth. Arceus births Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina to manage time, space, and the distortion world. But why stop there? The evidence suggests Arceus doesn't delegate and disappear, it intervenes subtly. Those unowned glyphs, they're echoes of Arceus's will, spelling out warnings when dimensions fray. And the creation trio? They're extensions, avatars of Arceus's facets, activated when humanity or nature disrupts the harmony. Consider the anomalies we've pieced together. In Kalos, the ultimate weapon powered by Zygarde cells. Zygarde, the order Pokémon, which monitors ecosystems. Who designed that system? Arceus embedding it as a failsafe. Eyewitnesses in Galar describe Zacian and Zamazent, sword and shield legends, appearing during the darkest day, a cataclysm echoing Arceus's judgment on imbalance. Even Mew, the ancestor of all Pokémon, carries Arceus's genetic blueprint, a living testament to the original sin of unchecked evolution. The theory holds because it explains the interconnectedness. no legendary acts alone. They form a network, with Arceus at the nexus, adjusting the plates like a cosmic dial to summon the right guardian at the right moment. But how does this play out in our world? Not through thunderous displays, but through synchronicities you might have experienced yourself. Ever felt a sudden calm during a storm, as if an unseen force intervened? Or witnessed a rare Pokémon migration aligning perfectly with a lunar eclipse? These are Arceus's subtle hand, orchestrating from the ether. Skeptics might call it coincidence, but the patterns are too precise. In one documented case from the Orange Islands, a trainer on the brink of defeat against a rampaging Dragonite reported a golden light enveloping the battlefield, Arceus's aura, they claimed, diffusing the rage and revealing the beast's hidden wound. Science can't explain it, but lore can. The Alpha ensuring no thread unravels the tapestry. This unified theory doesn't diminish the legendaries, it elevates them. If they're real entities, they're not random. They're purposeful agents in Arceus's grand design. If archetypes, then Arceus is the ultimate symbol, the collective soul of creation itself. Either way, it resolves the core tension. The mysteries aren't chaos, they're a symphony. You've been chasing shadows, but now you see the light source. Arceus hides not out of absence, but to allow free will, to let us choose harmony or hubris, intervening only when the scales tip too far. Yet, even with this revelation, questions linger like mist in the morning. Is Arceus watching us right now, through the eyes of a passing Pidgey or the whisper of wind? Could your next adventure summon one of its emissaries? The enigmas persist because the world is vast and our understanding shallow. What sightings have you had that fit this pattern? A flicker in the ruins, a roar in the night? Share them in the comments below. I read everyone, and who knows, your story might be the next thread in the tapestry. As we close this journey through hidden mysteries, remember, the legends are eternal, but so is your role in them. Keep your eyes open, your heart attuned, and perhaps you'll glimpse the orchestrator's hand. Until next time, stay curious, trainers. The shadows hold more secrets than we can ever uncover. If this story resonated with you, there's so much more to explore. Tap the Pokémon playlist to continue the adventure, and save it so you'll always have something soothing to fall asleep to, or choose the recommended video for another deep dive.